Spinning. It's spinning. All right, and we are live. Welcome into the Ball Knowers podcast, episode whatever we're on at this point. Um, I'm Jack here along with Chase. Chase, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Uh, I just watched the Red Sox win. Big Red Sox win, so I cannot complain about that at all. Um, and shit, man, I'm excited to get. I'm excited to get into some NBA talk. It's been I don't even know how long has it been since we talked NBA. Like I guess it's June.
Probably a couple months, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm ready to finally get back into it. Um, all right. Do you want to just get right into it, or you have anything that's on your mind? Like anything you wanna get off the rip off the top?
No, we're just going with the one question per team, right? That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, probably should explain a little bit. So we're doing one question per team. Um, a few of these I have like maybe two that I have on them. Um,
hmm
but the plan is to do about one question per team, and yeah, I just like whatever the burning question is, like can they contend or whatever it is, we'll get into it as we go. My team, so
Uh,
we each have them in 15 random. I randomly spun a wheel. We both got 15 teams. Um, I will say that this is um completely in random order for me, so I do not have it in Western first or Eastern or alphabetical or
mhm.
nothing. So, yeah. And outside of that, I'm ready to get into it. Yeah, I'll start it off. I'll start it off. So my first team that I have here is the Thunder, and my question is, do they have a championship hangover? Um, I think that we've seen it from a few teams now. We've had a repeat champion since every year since 2018 when the Warriors won it in 18 It's 17 and 18. Um, and then obviously the Raptors won at 19 and a new team every year since then. So my question is, do the Warriors, or sorry, do the Thunder have a championship hangover? Do they start slow, or they fall short in the playoffs because they're feeling confident or whatever coming off a championship win last year? I think that there's maybe a bit of worry there because it's a younger team. Maybe they can get a little bit in their head. Although they've shown to be kind of mature. There is still a worry because nobody has been able to go back to back in quite some time. What do you think about this?
Um, I think there's always a little bit of championship hangover for teams, but that's usually only something you notice in the first couple weeks, maybe month of the following season.
Hmm.
As far as if I think the Thunder will repeat, I'm not really quite sure yet. I think the Western Conference got a lot more competitive. I think a lot of teams started piling up to compete with the Thunder. So, but I don't think if they were to come up short this season that it would have anything to do with some kind of championship hangover. More so, other teams getting better, like the Nuggets specifically, is who I would look at as their biggest threat right now. Um, but do I think like the Thunder will play worse than they normally do when the playoffs come around? I would say no. I think they'll still be the same Thunder. Probably I'd say a better version even than we saw last year. I think Shea may plateau a little bit because he's already reached such an incredible height that I don't know how much better he can even get at this
Hmm.
point, but we'll see. I think J Dub's going to get better this year. I think um, Chet is going to be better this year. Hopefully, he stays healthy all year. So I think we'll see a better version of them. But if they don't end up going all the way, like I said, I think it will be just because another team outplays them, less to do with them making mistakes or anything like that.
Yeah, I kind of don't like. I mean, this is just the question that I thought about for them. I do have another one that I'll get to in a minute, but I don't really see them having a championship hangover. I think that it's possible because we've seen it with a couple teams now. But like the Celtics, for example, last year they had a pretty heavy championship hangover where
hmm
didn't look that good for the first like half the season or so until February or January maybe where they really started to turn around. You saw it with Derek White who struggled a lot early on. It felt like Tatum wasn't even great. The consistently Jalen Brown was up and down. Obviously, Kristaps had his like sicknesses and stuff that he was dealing with. Um, but I don't know. I just feel like the Thunder team is a little bit different. They seem, like I said, more mature for their age, especially even
hmm
more mature for just like an average champion. and they're well coached. I think that returning with the entire same team, I don't really see them struggling too much to get it going early. My other question I had was who could step up as a ball handler off the bench? Last year they kind of had AJ Mitchell playing that role a little bit as a second rounder rookie, um, and now they have Nikola Topic coming in off of what should have been last year his rookie season, but he had the ACL tear, so he wasn't able to play. So he's going into this year as the rookie, and that they need somebody to be that backup PG because Shea was playing a crazy amount of minutes last season when he wasn't, when he was actually playing the fourth quarter. A lot of times he wasn't. And the backup PG minutes, maybe it was Cason Wallace or like J Dub was playing a lot of it. It was just not the greatest situation. And I think that is probably the only glaring hole of sorts that they need to address. And so I think one of either AJ Mitchell or Topic really needs to step up this season and fill that role for not only this year but moving forward as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing about the Thunder, and that's why I think the second apron won't be really an issue for them going forward, like a lot of people think it will, is because of how well they draft. That's kind of where they get their role players from, and I think that's just going to kind of be a consistent, um, like almost a turnstile for them over the next few years, where they just keep rolling in new role players on these small contracts, and I think that'll probably be their game plan throughout the rest of Shea's prime, is to just kind of give him teams surrounding their big three just with these small contract guys. So a lot of the guys that are there now probably won't be there for much longer just because they
Mhm.
won't be able to afford all of them. But as far as it's impacting them, like you said, Topic is going to be there this year and Mitchell's going to be there this year. Those guys are both on small contracts, and I expect them both to contribute this year. So, um, yeah, I don't think depth, or what was the question again?
Who could be the point guard that steps up for them?
Yeah. So I think Topic and Mitchell both will fill that role in their own way. I think they play a little bit differently. I think Mitchell's a little bit more of a scorer than Topic is. I think Topic will be a little bit more of like a facilitator type of player when he comes in, but I think they're both going to be good this year.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard not to be on a team this well coached and with this much talent on it, but
Yeah.
I don't think that position will be a big problem for them this year.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree. All right. Who was your first team that you had listed?
All right. So yeah, you sent me the list on Twitter. I'm just gonna go in order that those teams were on the list. So we'll
Yep.
start off with the exhilarating role player filled Sacramento Kings. And my question for this team is, when do you just completely blow this up? Because 2023 is the first time you make the playoffs in 17 years. I think it was that hadn't been to the playoffs since 2006.
I believe
They
so. Yes.
hadn't won a playoff series in like 21 years. Now you have 2 straight years of not making the playoffs. Mike Brown gets fired last season. Your best player is Sabonis, or probably Sabonis, which is like just not good enough in the Western Conference. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan's like continuing to probably decline a little bit again this year. Zach LaVine is Zach LaVine. Like there's not anything special going on there. So at what point do you say, like they got rid of Fox last year, at what point do you say it's time to get rid of everybody else and just completely blow this up and go back to being the Sacramento Kings and winning 20 games and trying to rebuild again?
I don't disagree. It's kind of what if I had the Kings? That's probably what my question would be as well, because they've got an old team. You've got DeRozan. You've got. I mean, you're the Sacramento Bulls. So they're running it back like what Chicago had. So you got DeRozan, who needs to get moved. Obviously, you have Zach LaVine, who needs to get moved. Obviously,
Mhm.
Sabonis is on a contract year, and he said last season that he's probably not, or he said something along the lines of that he wants to see what like the organization's plan is, or
Bad
like
news.
yeah, like whatever their plan is moving forward before he resigns, which like means he's not resigning. He's gonna walk. They should trade him. I don't know to who because like it felt like a lot of teams needed a center like 3 years ago, and now nobody needs a center. So it's a weird situation that they're in. Um, I've thought about this a lot throughout the summer and over the last month or so. I have no clue who would be trading for Sabonis. Like not a single team. I've gone through them all would make sense in the slightest. Maybe like the Hornets or something. It's like, and that wouldn't even make sense. Like, it's just nobody makes sense. So the Kings might just get screwed, and he either just walks or like they re-sign him for a bag that he can't deny. Um,
Terrible decision if they do
yeah,
that.
yeah, oh, 100%. But the Kings, yeah, they need to make some trades because the way that they're heading is just another season of like 34 wins, and like maybe that'll sell some tickets because like you're not losing every game, but I don't know. I personally I would have higher aspirations than that. So like I don't know. The Kings are a mess though. They probably have the worst future in the league. They shouldn't have to. Like they have some picks from the Spurs, which aren't even going to be good, but they have some picks, and their team could be okay if they made the right moves, but I don't think that they're going to. Meaning trading these guys. I mean, they're trying to trade Malik Monk for Kaminga, who we'll get into later. Just got re-signed for 2 year, 48 million today. They
Mhm.
were trying to make that trade all summer, which I was surprised the Warriors didn't. I would have made that trade probably, like getting a first and Malik Monk. I don't think Malik Monk's that bad of a player. It feels like everyone around the league hates him though, so maybe I am in the wrong there. Yeah, the Kings need to make some moves ASAP. You got anything else on them?
No, I only have one question for every team.
I have one question for basically every team, except my second team as well. But after this, it's okay, and my last team. But after that, it's everything. All right. Um, so my next team is the Atlanta Hawks, one of the
Mm.
teams in the thumbnail. Speaking of that, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what question you have for your favorite team. Dude, I'm good at this shit. All right, the Atlanta Hawks. The first question is: Can Jalen Johnson take the leap to All Star, All NBA level player? I think that he's already an All Star level player, but can he take like another step to not only make the team for the first time, but like maybe even be a starter with a weak East, or if not that, then like be an All NBA caliber player this season? Because if the Hawks want to contend and like truly contend in this season, which I think that they could, they need Jalen Johnson to take that leap. Um, he really showed out last season, and he really stepped up big for them. Um, but like Trey Young needs that second running man, and I don't think it'll be Ricochet. I think that he's probably like good third option, like 3 and D
Mhm.
kind of guy.
Mhm.
But Jalen Johnson needs to take that like borderline star step to for them to have real championship aspirations.
Yeah, I don't know if Jalen Johnson takes the star step this year. I do like the Hawks, and I do think Jalen Johnson's a good player. I just don't know. When I look at the Hawks and their chances of winning the East, I think they could maybe make it as far as the Eastern Conference Finals just because of how weak the conference is going to be this year. And a little bit of luck slides their way. Maybe I think they'll probably be like a top 4 or 5 team in the conference.
Mhm.
But even if Johnson were to take a star leap, I don't think he would take a leap to a point where he'd be better than Trey Young. And I don't think a team with Trey Young and Jalen Johnson as their two best players is going to be good enough to win the Eastern Conference. It would really surprise me if Jalen Johnson takes a leap big enough to where the Hawks could be that type of team, because I think he would have to leap him into like that top 10 player in the conversation, which I don't think I could see him being in at the end of next season. It would take like a
Mhm.
ridiculously unexpected outlier leap from him.
Yeah, he would have to
Um,
be the number one option on the team, and like whatever else comes with that.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to watch that team this year, though. I think they have a lot of fun players on their team. I think they have pretty good depth. And Trey Young's always a fun show to watch on offense too. So I think they're definitely going to be a good team. But as far as the Jalen Johnson star leap, I don't think that'll happen this season.
Okay, so then that kind of leads into my second question of how far can they contend in a weak East? I to me they're probably my favorite, like quote unquote deep sleeper in the
Mm.
East, where you have your top teams like the Cavs or the Knicks, or like maybe even the Pistons, and then I think I would kind of put the Pistons in a bit of a sleeper tier too, maybe a bit above the Hawks because they made the playoffs like truly last season, no play in, and they had a good series versus the Knicks. Um, but I think that the Hawks to me are more of like a sneaky team where they could upset anybody, or they could just be 500 and in the play-in for the ninth year in a row. Um, yeah. So how far do you think they
I
go?
I definitely don't think they'll be 500 if they're healthy,
Mhm.
which is obviously,
Yeah.
very positive. They have a couple players on their team who could definitely get hurt. Porzingis, Johnson have had injury histories, but I think the 100th percentile outcome for them is they get lucky. Some other teams get hurt. I think obviously they're a good enough team to win the East. I just don't think it will happen. I think they'd have to get pretty lucky for that to happen. But you look at their team, and it's not like the Pacers last year. I definitely think the Pacers last year had more talent on their team. I think Halliburton's a much better engine than Trey Young is.
Mhm.
But you have your point guard who can engine your offense in Trey Young. You have a lot of good role players around him, a lot of good shooters around him. You have Porzingis who can be kind of your defensive anchor, even though he continues to get worse every year. So it'll be interesting. But as far as they can get the East, me realistically, I'm thinking if luck doesn't go their way, I'm thinking the semifinals is as far as I can see them going.
Um, I think that's fair. I feel like they have a true chance to make the conference finals because I think that they could contend with the Knicks. But like Jalen Johnson's gonna have to take a step. Kristaps gonna be healthy. They're gonna have to get like great play out of Nikhil Alexander Walker, and he's gonna have to be truly worth the money. Dyson Daniels gonna have to have another like deep boy level season. Like a lot of things are gonna have to go right for them to hit their ceiling. Um, Whereas I don't feel the same towards like the Knicks or the Cavs. Like I think if they have a expected season, their ceiling will kind of get hit, like just naturally because it's a weak East. Um,
Mhm.
all right, but that's all I have for the Hawks. Who's your next one?
All right. I've got the Denver Nuggets, and my question for them is did they add enough depth to win the West this year? And I think they did. I don't know if I'd pick them to win the West, but I definitely think, considering how close they were to beating the Thunder last year, I think they could definitely. If the Nuggets and the Thunder were playing in a series right now, I would really struggle to pick who would win that series.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I want to say yes. So obviously adding, let me pull up their roster so I can say everything. But um, they obviously add Cam Johnson, who is like the big move of the offseason for them. Um, They get Jonas Valanciunas, who they went back and forth whether he would go to Europe or not. They bring back Bruce Brown. They bring in Tim Hardaway Jr. Um,
John
let's
Holmes is healthy again.
yes, Deron Holmes, who was probably my favorite rookie last class. Like I was so high on him, and I don't know
Hmm.
how much he's going to play this season. I hope that he like does get a lot of burn for them, but that'll be interesting to see because he's like their third center. But I really do think that he could be a good player. Um, it's basically most of their moves. I do think that like getting a true backup big that isn't DeAndre Jordan is going to be unbelievably massive for them. Because Val is a good player, and Deron Holmes could be a really good player too. Um, and like not having to play a awful center who is going to go like -10 in 2 minutes. Jokic could only Jokic misses the court for 4 minutes in a playoff game, and that's a lot for him. But in those 4 minutes, they're like -12, and that's how they end up losing the games. So that honestly, that might even be bigger than Cam Johnson, who is a big upgrade. I feel from MPJ. I think Cam Johnson's going to be able to have more consistent big games for them and fewer like shrinking games. I think that he's more versatile and less hunted on defense. Um, and then I think he's just gonna be able to like facilitate in this offense very well, like matching Jokic, and like he's gonna be just a more consistent shooter, more consistent overall player for them. Um, and not to say that MPJ is a bad player. I think that Cam Johnson's better fit for them, and I think Tim Hardaway's a good bench piece as well, like a good bench shooter. So overall, I think that this is going to be enough for them to contend. Would I take them to beat them if the series started tomorrow? I would probably still take the Thunder, um, but it is a lot closer right now than it was last season, and I feel that pretty comfortably. What's your take on it?
Oh, I think yeah. Um, like I was saying, I think with how close it was last year, they added enough depth, in my opinion. With Brown coming back, I thought was a big piece that they lost a couple years ago. He's back. I think he's a good energy guy for them off the bench. Holmes, Like you said, I was high on him coming out of the draft. I'm wondering if he'll just slide into like a backup four role for them because he is
Mhm.
probably athletic enough to play that position in the NBA. Valanciunas, I think, is a really good backup big and is going to be really big for the non-Jokic minutes. We all know Jokic's on-off stats are like a huge meme in the NBA community because the bench is just so horrible behind him, especially the bigs. Like you got a 40-year-old DeAndre Jordan out there playing consistently. So uh, the sacrifice of Jokic's on-off stats for having a better basketball team, I think, will be the outcome for them this season. And I like I said, I do think their depth will be enough for them to compete and potentially beat the Thunder this year. Because even though that series went 7 last year, it always kind of felt like the Thunder were in control. They kind of let a couple games slip away from them. So I
Mm.
think this year we'll see a much tighter series than it was last year, despite the fact that it went 7 games.
Yeah, I'm excited for this potential series, and I think this series is probably likely. These are pretty clearly the two best teams in the West to me, especially after the Fred VanVleet injury, which we can get into a little bit later. We talked about it a bit on the last pod, but we'll talk about it more now because I think it'll be relevant in this conversation. I believe that I had the Houston and I did. Yeah, so I'll bring it up later. But I think that they are the two best teams in the in the West rather, and they will almost like guaranteed. I feel be in a series against each other, barring obviously some big injury or something like that. I don't see these teams falling to like the Timberwolves or the Lakers. The Rockets, it could be the Rockets, but I think losing Van Vliet's going to be a big loss for them. We can keep it moving. I've got the Washington Wizards up next. We got a whole lot of bad teams to start out with, besides the Thunder and Nuggets.
Get all the
So,
bad ones out of the way.
so my question is, how can you develop this much youth in one season? Um, they, this roster is, it's. I like this roster. Like, I feel like it is. They've got a lot of good pieces and a lot of good players that I like, but it's going to be hard for them to find minutes for everybody. Let me pull up the roster for them really quick. So, yeah, obviously you have Bub Carrington, who they just brought in. You got Bilal Koulibaly, who's going into year 3 and didn't look great in Eurobasket, but it's that's okay. Keyshawn George, who had a really good season last year, and I think that is maybe their like biggest piece moving forward. Corey Kispert's still pretty cool. He's not that young though, but whatever. They still have they just drafted Trey Johnson. Um, they have Alex Sarr from last season. Like they just brought in Cam Whitmore. They traded for NBA champion Dylan Jones from the Thunder. They've got a lot of pieces, and AJ Johnson, who I didn't even mention. That's crazy. That was one of the biggest steals from last season that I feel like it went kind of under the radar. Was them just like taking AJ Johnson from the Bucks for like Kyle Kuzma. Um, but they've got a lot of young pieces here and a lot of good players, and then they still have older guys like CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, and those guys will be starting and getting a lot of minutes for them. So, like, how are they going to be able to develop what I just named you, 7 or 8 guys there that are all 20, 21, 19 years old, all very high potential? Like, a lot of those guys could be really good players, but there's only one basketball. There's only 5 guys that can be on the court at once. So, how do they develop all those guys in this one season?
I think the key for them is going to be CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton not being in town for much longer. Those veterans, obviously, I don't think those guys are bad players, but
Mhm.
for a team with the direction that they have, clearly your guys aren't making the playoffs this year. Probably not making the playoffs for a couple of years into the future, depending on how your guys develop. But if you want your guys to develop into a playoff team in the near future, then you have to give them as much time on the court as possible. And there's something to be said for having veteran presences in the locker room. But I don't know if I don't know how much Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum are going to be able to change the players on this roster right now.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know how much wisdom they're gaining from those two guys.
Yeah.
Um,
They're not big like culture setters. It's not like
yeah,
some yeah.
like this
And
isn't
I get
some like you don't even need to be like a star to like kind of set a culture a little bit. Like we've seen with James Johnson is like a career role player, but he's a kind of culture setter type of player. Or like Draymond Green is
mm,
still a kind of culture setter type of player at his old age, even though he's not like the same player he was at his peak,
no, for sure,
obviously.
for sure.
But I think there are teams out there that will be looking for a CJ McCollum or a Chris Middleton to kind of be a role player for them in their pursuit of a
Mhm.
championship. And I
Yep.
think the Wizards could get assets for that, and I think the Wizards could develop their players as well. So I think you can get two birds for one stone there and continue to kind of develop this team. But I think they have a good core in place, and it's going to be about maximizing the amount of time they can spend together and on the court together.
Mm.
And I think to do that, you have to get rid of the veteran pieces that you have right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I could see like CJ McCollum going to the Warriors would make a lot of sense for me. For a team that like basically didn't improve their roster at all in the offseason. They need like like there's a veteran team, so they're gonna need more. They're gonna keep getting older vets, and CJ McCollum would fit that
Unction.
team pretty well. Yeah, for sure. And then Chris Middleton going back to the Bucks is just what makes the most sense to me. Like I feel like we've seen a lot of reunions of old vets going back to their former teams in both NBA and NFL in the last year. And I think that he's another person that would make a lot of sense to do that move. Um, yeah, we don't have to spend any more time on Washington though. Sorry, Wizards
Well,
fans.
I
Um,
know you love this next team,
all
so
right,
I'll go with the Chicago Bulls here.
I love the Bulls. Great team.
And my question verbatim is, what the hell is the plan? Because you have no playoff wins in the last 10 years. You have a brand that gets weaker every year since 1998.
Yep.
And you have a roster with no stars, still has Nikola Vucevic, no shot to compete, and you just locked in Josh Giddey long term.
Mhm.
So I don't
Yep.
know what the goal is here. I don't even know if this team's a play-in team. With how bad the East is, probably.
It
Like they'll probably
probably
be
will
like a
be. Yeah.
36-win play-in team. But this team sucks. And your best player is probably like Kobe White.
Mm. I
That's
mean,
you're just
you could argue it's modest.
and maybe he will be this year if he takes the next step. But I think like the way their team looks right now, like I was looking
Mm.
at their roster, this team is painfully like I'm not even mid, just like their team is bad, and
Yes.
I'm wondering what the plan is for the future because none of these guys are franchise cornerstones. Some of them are obviously like good pieces as like third or fourth guys, but
Mhm.
I'm just confused as to what Chicago's goal is moving forward here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So their starting lineup, I saw it get posted today. Their projected starting lineup, which I would assume this will be the lineup. If it's not, then there's like so the only change I could see it's I'll read it out first. Giddy, Kobe White, Isaac Okoro, Modest Buzelis, Nikola Vucevic. Um, the only change I could see would being Modest like as a six man for Patrick Williams, which I don't see that being a smart decision. I don't think that they should do that. Um, but it's possible, I guess. Um, Modest to me is the best player on this team, or Kobe White. It kind of I could go either way, but I see Modest having a higher ceiling. But yeah, this team sucks. They're in perennial play in just like torture, and they're I mean, it's bad coach, bad GM. Like they can't draft well. They spend money on players that they shouldn't, giving Patrick Williams a big deal and Giddy a deal that they probably shouldn't have gotten. They won't extend Kobe White yet for whatever reason. They won't trade Nikola Vucevic. They, turned down 2 first round picks for Alex Caruso and instead get Josh Giddy straight up for him. There's 100 things that I can name you that they've done that are really, really stupid moves. Um, yeah, I don't see a good moving forward path here for them. I think that they are kind of just in purgatory, to put it simply, and I don't see I don't see how they get out of that. Honestly, unless they like tanked this season, which they're not bad enough to truly, truly tank and like contend for Peterson, DeBonsa, Boozer. So, like, if you're not in that level, then to me, it's kind of like either you're that bad or you are going for the playoffs. That's how I would look at the season if I was a team. And I feel like they're kind of in the middle of that. Like they are like the only team in the league who is truly them and like the Kings are like just sitting in the middle of like which yeah the Sacramento Bulls, dude. I'm telling you, like these are the same two teams, East and West. It's hilarious. They're both in just perennial purgatory, and that's all you could really say about them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I saw those as two of the first three teams I was going through. Is like I was going through the Bulls and I was getting deja vu. I was like, I feel like I've already been writing questions for this team, and I was like, oh, it's literally the Sacramento Kings all over again. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm just confused what the future is, and yeah,
Mhm.
it makes no sense to me their roster
yeah,
construction at all.
yeah. I'm interested to see how Noah Sengay does this season, but like it's like there's nothing else to really say there. It's just like, okay, whatever. Um, is Mo Gay on? No, that's a different player. Never mind. Anyways, all right, you got the Bulls. I got the Miami Heat up next, and the
Mhm.
question is, so how the report is that Tyler Hero is gonna miss the beginning of the season with a hand surgery, I believe it was. Um, and so the report is that he's gonna miss some time. So my question is, how do they survive without Tyler Hero for the early stage of the season? I think that this roster is very, very poor, to put it simply, and they need somebody to step up in his wake. I mean, let me just pull up this roster really quick because it's bleak. I know that they made the trade for Norman Powell, which in his preseason presser, his go to goal for the season is to make an All Star game. It's not make the playoffs. It's not elevate my roster. It's nothing. It's make an all-star game, which means that you know, aren't um uh yeah, so bang. So you're not we're talking about the Heat here and how they're going to contend without Tyler Hero. I know you got Norman Powell, you traded away Jimmy Butler, you traded away Andrew Wiggins, or sorry, you traded for Andrew Wiggins, right? Yeah. But I just don't see it with this roster, man. I don't see this team being that good. They'll probably make a play-in team because the East is really not going to be good this season. But it's bleak. Somebody's gonna have to step up, and it's gonna be like I honestly I don't know who's stepping up in replace for Tyler Hero. I guess it's gonna have to be Davion Mitchell, who looked all right in that last season. Terry Rozier will play some, even though he is not good and he gambles and stuff. I guess they proved he didn't gamble, but um, because he just is that bad. But yeah, now this roster isn't good, and I will say I do have two questions about this team. um, but yeah, I mean, you can make the Tyler Hero thing quick because he's not going to miss that much time. I think it's only going to be like a month or two. But it still is a pretty substantial amount of time for your arguable best or second best player in this.
How did they compete without Tyler Hero? I feel like Norman Powell and Tyler Hero probably aren't that much different of players than the general consensus probably thinks they are. I'm not
Mhm.
very high on Tyler Hero as a player, and I'm not very high on the Heat as a team at all. I think they're another one of these teams that doesn't really have like a franchise player. Bam Adebayo is probably closer to a franchise player than anyone we've talked about on any of these other like play-in teams, but
Mhm.
they're just I think they get by a lot on Spoelstra just really having a good defensive game plan for them. And he's kind of able to keep them in games with that kind of mindset. And, he's a good culture setter as a coach. So he's able to he's a good leader of men. He's just able to kind of get a bunch of guys to buy in on what he teaches. And they always kind of
Mhm.
field decent teams because of it. But as far as competing with that Tyler Hero, I think they just kind of have to hope that Norman Powell is able to fill that role for them while he's gone. And it probably won't be pretty because Miami
Yep.
Heat basketball isn't pretty even when they are good.
Yeah. So my follow up question, you kind of just answered it, but is anybody going to break out here? You've got Triple J, you've got Jovic, you've got Pele Larson. That kind of ends the list. I guess Khalil Ware is on that list too. Somebody needs to step up here because, it's bad. They need somebody to be. Oh, all right. Let me respect Kasparis Yakachonis. They drafted him in the first round out of Illinois this year. So he's on that list as well. Somebody needs to step up here though. Who's it going to be,
I think if
if
anybody was
anybody?
going to break out, it would definitely be Ware. I thought he looked pretty good last year. He was one of my favorite players in the last draft class.
Mhm.
And I think he has a pretty interesting skill set. That rim protector plus floor spacer archetype is becoming more and more common in the NBA, but there's still not a lot of guys who can do it super well, super high level.
Yeah.
There's probably only a short list of guys who are in that conversation. So
Hmm.
I think if he could develop into one of those guys, like an elite rim protector who can space the floor at a high level, I think we could definitely be talking about him as like an all-star in like an 100th percentile season.
Hmm.
But I think the chances of that happening are pretty slim. I don't know how many touches he's going to get, especially when Hero comes back. He's probably like the fourth option on the team. So it'll be interesting. While Hero's out, if he starts going crazy, then maybe he has a bigger role when Hero comes back. But
Mm.
he would be my breakout candidate if anybody on the team were going to.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one. Triple J, like he interested me when he was a rookie in like second year, but I'm kind of over that train. And Jovic, I don't see it with him, and Pele, kind of the same thing. We can keep it moving though. I don't really,
Yeah,
unless you have something else to say about the Heat, but I don't think you do.
another exciting team coming in. Toronto Raptors. My question
Woo!
for them. My question for them is: can someone step up and be the alpha on a team full of role players?
Yeah,
And
a team full of number twos and number threes, no doubt about it.
I feel like many people, the obvious answer to this question would be Scotty Barnes. I don't really know how high I am on him. I don't really know how much better he's going to get. Um,
Okay.
Me personally, I don't think he's like that. Like, I don't think he's a good player. I just don't think he's like a franchise player.
Mhm.
So I was kind of interested how much money they ended up giving him, which is just kind of the state of the NBA is at now. You kind of have to
Yeah,
pay the guys that you draft, but
yeah.
I mean, they've got him, they've got Ingram, they've got, and then it's like a pretty steep drop off after that. It's like Barrett, quickly. Their roster is not very interesting. So I'm wondering if like maybe Barnes
Mhm.
does take a leap, maybe Grady Dick becomes a superstar. Um, so who takes
Maybe.
the lead on a team full of people who have spent their entire career not being able to do so would be my question.
South Carolina Gamecock legend Colin Murray Boyles is the guy. No, I mean I think he's a good prospect, but I he's not going to be the guy. Obviously, the year one. Um, I think they're relying a ton on Brandon Ingram to really step up in year one with the Raptors. I guess year one and a half, he didn't play at all. Basically, I don't. Did he play at all with the Raptors last year? I have like no memories of him playing. Um, Regardless,
Probably.
I think that they're gonna rely on him a lot to step up here. Yeah, he did not play a minute with them, so that is correct, yeah. I think that they're really relying on him to be their guy. Whether he will be or not, I don't think that he will be because he's never been a number one option level guy, and Scotty Barnes hasn't really shown to be either. I think Scotty Barnes can be like a 1B on a good day, but like you need your number one option to be a consistent guy, and I don't think that he is consistent enough as of right now. He is only 24, so like he's got his career is not set in stone. A lot of this, I mean, they're big four if you want to call it that. They're all like the oldest one is Brandon Ingram at 28. So they're all like young enough to improve, I guess. I don't know. They have so much money put into these four guys where like IQ is he's like to me a six man kind of guy. RJ Barrett is I mean he was all right last season, but he still is like a fourth or fifth level, like fifth option, fourth option on a team. I feel he's not a true I don't even really see him as like a three. I guess he's a three if you have like two fantastic other players. Which the Raptors just don't. So yeah, to put it shortly, I don't really see anybody stepping up into that number one role. Um, and I think it's probably going to be another losing year for the Raptors. But I don't know. They're kind of a fun team. Like with the amount of money that they have into these guys, I think it gets it. Their depth is lacking, so it gives their younger guys an opportunity to play more. And I think that is potentially where they see somebody step up is in their younger guys.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like I was saying, I don't really see an alpha stepping up for them unless by some miracles Scotty Barnes has this breakout season into a 1A superstar, but
Hmm.
I'm kind of out on him at this point.
I agree.
I think health will be an issue for them too. So it might
Yep.
just be another
Yeah.
unwatchable Raptors season.
I'll say this though, shout out Ochai Agbaji. He was pretty good last season. Like he improved pretty much completely across the board. So like in all shooting percentages, stats wise, like just everything. So I mean he was playing more minutes per game than the rest of his career, but he also like played some of I think yeah, he played the most games started wise in his career too. So I don't know. I've always liked him, even when he was on the Jazz. I thought he was a pretty decent player. So that's an interesting player to look out for this season. I think that he, you know, could even improve from 10 points per game to like 14 or something, and that would be big for them. Um, but yeah, that's all I have from the Raptors. Moving on to another really, really good team, the Charlotte Hornets. Can they make the play in parentheses or better in an injured weak injured slash weak East. Uh, what are you thinking and why? I feel it's potential, but I want to hear your take here.
Let me take a look at their roster because I cannot sit here and tell you that I watch a ton of Hornets basketball. All right. I mean, that's right. They got Sexton for Nurkic. That was an absolute fleece. That's okay. I mean, I think it would definitely take a leap from someone like Brandon Miller,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I think the loss of Mark Williams is going to hurt them a little bit, even though he wasn't a player who played a ton. Any NBA team rolling out into the season with their starting center being Mason Plumlee, that's a little bit of a problem, I'd say.
Mhm.
One of the few players in the league that can actually claim that they're probably worse than Yusuf Nurkic. So, I mean, there's like a decent core in place here. I don't really know how in I am on LaMelo Ball. I think he's a solid player. I don't really see him as like a franchise guy in the terms that he's going to be some guy who brings your team to the playoffs as your top
Mhm.
player.
Okay.
I think it would have to more be Brandon Miller developing quite a bit this season if they're going to be in the play-in conversation. I think the Hornets are just a team that, you know, they're very guard heavy, they're very wing heavy. They don't really have any bigs, and even though there is young talent on this team, I just don't really see how it meshes in a way that would get them into that conversation. Maybe because the East is super weak, and if they stay healthy, they could. But health
Mhm.
is another huge question mark for this team, especially with LaMelo Ball, who struggled to stay on the court. So I would
Yeah.
say no for them making the play in this season.
Okay. So my take on it is if they are healthy, I'm saying yes. I think that there's a chance if they are health like if this is a healthy team, which I'm giving it like a 20% chance. But if that happens, I think that there's a chance that they could outright make the playoffs, or at least host a play-in game. Like I think that this team could be good. We saw it at the beginning of last season where they started out like 7-2 or something like that, and then the entire season fell apart. You saw Trey Mann go down for essentially the whole season. Um, Lamelo got hurt not soon after. Mark Williams was in and out. Grant Williams tore his Achilles. Like so, they just got destroyed instantly last season. But when they for that first couple weeks, they looked good. Um, they got Spencer Dinwiddie to be a good backup PG. Same with Colin Sexton, like you said, who I wouldn't be surprised if they do try to move him at some point because he could have some trade value. You're getting back Grant Williams, who was pretty good for them when he was healthy 2 seasons ago. Um, they drafted who did they get? They got Ryan Kalkbrenner in the second round. Um, who did they
That's
draft
true,
in the
actually. Good
first?
pick.
Yeah, that was a good pick. Who did they get in the first? Am I misremembering? Was it Con Knipple? I'm so dumb. Yeah, so they got Con Knipple. That was obvious, and then they got Sion James out of Duke, who I like too, the high flying like crazy dunker. But Con Knipple, absolute sniper. I think he's going to be a good player. Um, and yeah, I think that they killed the draft. I think that they did great trades this offseason, and they kind of set themselves up to be in a good position. The only real worry I have is their center rotation is awful. It's probably Mason Plumlee starting at center, and you're looking at maybe Kalkbrenner as the backup big. Maybe they're going back to Musa Diabate as the starting center from last season. It's not in a great situation for them. But I think that they have play-in potential for sure this season. It's probably them. Like if you're looking at the teams in the East, to quick fire it, I'm betting on Celtics, Knicks, Sixers, Cavs, Pistons, Pacers, Bucks, Hawks all finishing ahead, Magic finishing ahead. So you're probably battling for the 10th spot with the Heat. Um, I guess there could be some injury concerns with like maybe if the Celtics take out Jalen Brown, there's a chance they don't even make the play in. If Embiid goes down, there's a chance the Sixers' whole season falls apart again. Um, like I don't know, a whole bunch of other examples like that. So um, I would say they have a real contending spot for the 10th seed, and if they're healthy, then I think they could be higher. That's my take on it. But yeah, moving along. Who's your next team?
Well, I've got the Boston Celtics, and my question
Okay.
for them is how does Missoula game plan for life without Jason Tatum this season? Because I am interested to see what their offense looks like. No more Drew Holiday or Porzingis either. So this is
Mhm.
basically a completely gutted version of the team that won the championship 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're rolling out Pritchard and Simons is what the depth chart says. I don't know if that'll be what they end up doing, but if that's the case, you've got potentially the worst defensive backcourt in the entire NBA. And then you've got Jaylen Brown as your go-to scorer, which we've seen in the past does not always yield the best results in the world. And then you've
Mhm.
got Chris Boucher as your starting center, which Oregon legend. I love Chris Boucher. I don't know in the year of our Lord 2025 if that is exactly what you want to see. So I'm not really
Yeah.
sure how Missoula is going to approach this. I don't know if he'll continue to go with his 5 out approach. I'm interested to see what the defense looks like. He's going to have to scheme up some true wizardry to make that
Mhm.
backcourt work defensively with no rim protector on the back end. I think the season could be really ugly for the Celtics. Um, I'm not really a huge fan of their roster, but what do you think?
So I the one thing I think that they're going to start Nemus Keita at center, and not who did you Chris Boucher. That's what I would assume, because Keita is younger and better. But I guess they might go with Boucher. I feel like Boucher is going to be like a bench guy for them. Him and Garza could probably switch out that spot. Um, but yeah, they're going to really be relying heavily on Derek White to step up and Jalen Brown especially to be their guy this season. I really don't think Jalen Brown is a number one option. I've never been that high on him as a player. He's a good player, no doubt, but I don't think that he is a number one option, and I think it's gonna be uglier than people are expecting. I thought they had a decent draft. Hugo Gonzalez is interesting. He's a draft and stash, so we're not going to see him this season. I liked Amari Williams coming out of Kentucky. He's another good dunking center, like rim runner kind of guy. So that could be a good piece for them. Maybe we see him at some point this season. Um, and Max Shulga was an absolute sniper at VCU, so that's a good pick too. But I'm assuming it's going to be Pritchard at the 1, Derek White at the 2, Jalen Brown at the 3, um, who at the 4? I guess Xavier Tillman maybe, and then 5 is Kada. Yeah, so that's pretty ugly. Yikes, that is a bad backcourt, no doubt. Or sorry, bad front court, no doubt about it. Um, yeah, without Tatum, it's gonna be interesting to see how much Tatum was like holding up, like was covering this roster up for their other holes because we've seen for the last few years now their bench has not been that good, um, and they've really relied on like oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name now. Who did they sign from the Cavs when the Cavs cut him last season? Um, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'll think of it in a minute. But yeah, they're really relying on like just vet minimums that they're signing mid season or just random guys to step up this season. And I think that there's a better chance than not that they're going to be like a play-in team. And if Jalen Brown goes down, they're saying that he had like some MCL problem or something that he got figured out. But like, if I'm the Celtics, I would really strongly consider just if we're a month into the season and we're not looking that good, just bench, just send Jalen Brown home for the season. Tank for DeBonsa or Peterson or Boozer. It makes the most sense to me. You could truly double this dynasty, like 2x the length by getting another elite top tier prospect. And what is this year for contending without Tatum? They're not going to. So I don't know. That's my take on it. I wouldn't try to contend if I were them.
I did completely forget that Derek White exists. He is still on the team. So
Yeah.
their backcourt won't be that bad defensively because they still have a point of attack guy. But um, the CBS has their starting front court as Sam Hauser and Nemus Queta. So that's probably the worst front court in the league. If I had to go off the top of my head, that's really, 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 really horrible.
Mhm.
But there's still a little bit of talent here with how bad the East is. Probably a play-in team still, but it's just going to be interesting to see. This is by far the least talented roster that Missoula has had to work with. So this will kind of be a good test to see what kind of coach he really is. Because there's probably a lot of coaches who could have filled in for the Celtics in 2024 and found success, which isn't to take away from Missoula. I don't think he's a
Mhm.
bad coach, But I do think this season will be interesting to see how he adjusts to basically a brand new team without a top 5 level player just being plucked off his roster for the entire year. So
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. Um, it'll be I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what if they decide to try to you know just shoe in the season and cancel it basically for themselves and like just move on, or if they actually try to make something of it. But we can move along to the Cavaliers, another good team in the East. And maybe it's a kind of a basic question, but it's will they avenge last season's disappointment? They host the Pacers in the second round and they just get embarrassed. Game winner after game winner, comeback after comeback. I know that was the Pacers special, but the Cavs kind of got the worst of it. Um, and it was pretty ugly at times. Obviously, they lose Ty Jerome and bring in Lonzo. That might be the biggest improvement or like biggest change from this roster. It's basically running it back with the same squad, but with a change at backup PG. So yeah, what do you think that they win the East and truly avenge it? Do you think that they make it an extra round? Because something clearly needs to happen. They have not made a conference finals with Donovan Mitchell yet.
Um, I don't know if their team is going to play similar to the way they played last year, because I think Lonzo, it might be over,
Mhm.
and it's not really his fault at all. His knee is just completely destroyed,
Yep.
and um, maybe he'll be better than Ty Jerome in certain situations because he is definitely a better defender than him. So maybe he'll fit into the roster a little more that way. If he
Mhm.
can kind of retain a little bit of his shooting, I think he'll be a big positive for them offensively, especially with the way Atkinson likes to run the offense. But as far as them winning the East, that's hard for me to say because the Pacers are out of the picture and the Celtics are out of the picture. I think those were kind of the two teams that I would look at as their biggest threats. So maybe because outside of that, you're looking at the Sixers probably not going to stay healthy. You're looking
Mhm.
at the Knicks. I think that's a team they could definitely beat if they played in the series. And then after that, you're talking about the Hawks. I think they'd beat the Hawks, the Magic, the
Mhm.
Pistons. I think they'd beat both of those teams.
Yep.
So I'd say going into the season, they're definitely my favorite to win the East because I think Mobley's going to get better. I think Mobley is going to, if he's not already,
Mhm.
which I think he is, but I think if everyone doesn't think it now, by the end of next season, everyone will think Mobley's the best player on this team. And
Yep.
I think we just need to see a little bit of that in the playoffs, and this team
Mhm.
could definitely find themselves in the finals next June.
Yeah, and if they don't win it all, win the East this season, I like honestly, even if they lose in the Eastern Conference Finals, that's a disappointment to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
100%.
I wouldn't even really say that avenges last season fully because I get making an extra round is good, but like this is the most open a conference has been in like I don't even know how long. It is such like I know that like the Warriors with Kevin Durant or LeBron when he was on the Cavs, like those seemed like open years for them because they you just knew that they were going to win. But it's different because they had competition at least. They had the Rockets for the Warriors or they had the Celtics for the Cavs. Or even I mean LeBron's Cavs weren't even smoking teams. They were sweeping the Pacers, but they were losing the first three quarters in all four games. So, like those were true series. But the Cavs have such an cakewalk. Like they should absolutely demolish, sweep whoever they get in the first round, like they did versus the Magic. And they should, or no, it wasn't the Magic.
The
The Heat?
Heat.
Yeah, they just the best point differential in the first two, or yeah, hosting two games ever. Um, they should just demolish them. Whoever they play in the first round, and then they should honestly just kind of smack the second team too. And so it comes down to probably them and the Knicks. I would assume that'll be a good series. I wanted to see it this season. I don't. I as of now, I don't fully know who I would have coming out on top. I think I would say the Cavs, but like ask me again in a couple weeks, it'll probably change. And obviously, once the season starts, who knows at that point? Um, yeah, I think that they will avenge it. I think that they at minimum are making the Eastern Conference Finals. I would probably take them to make the finals, and win or lose, I think a finals trip is avenging the last season's disappointment.
Yeah, I
All right, we
agree.
can move along to who do you got next up?
The Brooklyn Nets. My question for them is how many point guards does it take to save a franchise? Because they drafted three of them. 5 first round picks. I don't know if I'm a fan of any of those 5 first round picks. You know, Igor Demon or Demon, however you say his
Yep.
name, kid from BYU.
Demon.
Um,
Igor
the
Demon. How
Demon,
about
Igor
that?
Demon. Um, I think he would his draft profile is interesting. Like I feel like he would need pretty outlier development to be like a franchise guy. And I mean,
Mm,
outside of that, it's going to be like Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr. just putting dents into rims all season.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Cam Thomas is probably going to like set the NBA record for 50-point games, not from Wilt Chamberlain in a season this year because he's just going to be
Yes.
shooting the ball 40 times a game.
Mm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
he might shoot
wondering.
the record. I don't know what the record is for most field goals attempted per game, but like I'll look that up right now because he might touch it. Like he might get close. Like that team's
It's
gonna be
going to
ugly this
be.
season.
I almost want to say it's going to be entertaining because like they're going to have like 15 men deep, and all 15 of them are going to play because they have 5 first-round picks. There's no way that all 5 of those guys don't see the floor this season.
Mm,
You might as well. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets are probably, if like off the top of my head, the worst team in the Eastern Conference. So I,
yeah.
I'm I'm like weirdly intrigued to watch that for some reason, but at the same time, I'm
Mm.
wondering, you have all these point guards. What are you going to do with them?
So the record is Wilt with 39.5 when he averaged 50.
There's
So
no way. That's never
I,
another Wilt
yeah,
record that will never be
he
touched.
can't. I mean, I don't see Cam Thomas averaging 40 field goal attempts, but I'm also not going to put it past him because Cam Thomas does not pass the ball, and he shouldn't pass the ball to anybody this year. I really think Cam Thomas is traded at the deadline. I think it's a very, very likely outcome because he wants a new contract, and it does not seem like the Nets are going to be the team who gives it to him based on how this offseason went. And I expect this season to go pretty similarly to last season for him, where he just shoots a lot of shots, averages a lot of points, and it's kind of empty. Um, outside of him, this roster is outside of him and MPJ, who like neither one is an amazing player, but they're both like decent. They're plus players. This roster sucks. It just to put it simply, like Danny Wolf first rounder, Dariq Whitehead is just we're done with him. Nolan Trayor first rounder, um, Ben Sarah first rounder, Drake Powell first rounder, who like I just nobody ever talks about, and Igor Demon first rounder. Um, yeah, 5 first rounders, 3 of them are guards. You didn't draft a single center. Uh, Man, I don't really even know what to say about this team. Nick Claxton should demand a trade because I know he just got paid by them, but I wanted him to get traded so bad. He deserves to go play actual real basketball. Um, outside of that, I mean, they got Kobe Buffkin this season. They got Haywood Highsmith in the offseason. They got Terrence Mann in the offseason. I mean,
Oh
they killed
man.
it. They killed it. This is a great offseason. Um, really moves the needle for me. This is pretty comfortably, I feel, the worst team in the East. I don't have any problem saying that. Um, and I would be surprised if they aren't the worst team in the East. Like the question for me is like, if you don't get the first pick, do you sell the team? Like that should be the question because
That's the good
it
thing about this draft is there's multiple number one overall pick
yeah.
players at least. But
Yeah, for the Jazz and for the Nets where they just get screwed at the lottery every year, like this is finally their year to not get I mean they'll end up being 4 and 5. I can't wait. Where like it's like Celtics, Rockets, Thunder are 1, 2, and 3 somehow. But yeah. um But yeah, I mean, the Nets are terrible, and your question's pretty funny because apparently a lot more than what they have because this roster is not getting fixed this year.
yeah,
All right, moving along to the Pacers. My question is, who steps up in place of Tyrese Halliburton? Who fills that void?
TJ McConnell
Well, I don't
wins
mean
the
like
MVP.
I don't mean literally like who plays starting point guard now. I mean, he handled the ball. I think he like his usage is one of the highest in the league, and like, who's going to be leading this team now going to this next season?
Well, there's all this talk about how Andrew Nemhard is supposed to be like this next Jalen Brunson breakout player.
Yeah.
This year would be the time if it's going to happen because he is going to have the ball in his hands all season. Honestly, I
Mhm.
still think the Pacers will be. I don't think they'll even be a play-in team. I think there's still a ton of talent on this roster with how bad the East is. I think this team could very easily still be a 6 seed.
I agree, 100%.
With very, very well coached. I think Carlisle is one of the 5 best coaches in the league. I think he's one of the 10 best coaches of all time.
Mhm.
Um, so I think he'll definitely find a way to game plan. I think we really are going to see offensively their pace is really going to slow down because Tyrese Halliburton was a guy who would like other team would score, Pacers are already getting a shot attempt up 6 seconds later. So we're
Mhm.
not going to really see any more of that this season, I would imagine. Um, but I think Nemhard's going to be really fun to watch this year. I'm not really in on him taking like this Brunson leap like some people have suggested, but I do
I
think
agree.
he's a player who could average like 20 points a game. If it probably wouldn't be the prettiest 20 points a game, but I think he's a
Mhm.
very, very gifted scorer. And I think in a role where he's playing 30 minutes a game, he's gonna be a really fun player to watch. So I think that's the player that would step in for Tyrese Halliburton, both literally and in the sense that he's going to be the new leader of the team. But as far as like the playmaking engine that they're going to miss, there's no one on the team that's even filling up 10% of what Halliburton was doing for them.
Yeah, I know the popular take is Nemhard. I kind of feel like Neesmith might take a big jump this season. Like obviously he was a big playoff riser for them last year, but I don't know his two-way versatility and like his shot making. I think that like he's gonna be able to be on the ball a little bit more this season, and I think he's just gonna get more shots in general. So I think that he could take a big leap. Obviously, it goes without saying, Siakam has to step up big for them this season if this team's gonna make the playoffs or not make the play in like you're projecting, which I kind of agree with. I think that they should be like either first team in the playoffs or first team like not in the playoffs
Yeah.
or play in. It's like 6 or 7
Hmm.
is basically what I'm saying. Um, but um, yeah, so Siakam's gonna have to have a great year. Uh, I mean, yeah, like you said, this roster is just full of talent. TJ McConnell's gonna have to have a good season. I think Matherin should step up big. I've seen a lot of reports
Yeah.
saying that they're gonna expect more out of him. Like he probably is the biggest thing here because he
Yeah.
is that like secret weapon almost of theirs. That I mean, he's still kind of an unknown, and he's still young enough that he could truly come onto the scene this season. So it wouldn't be surprising to me at all if he's the guy. I've seen a lot of stuff saying that they want to use Johnny Furphy a lot more this season, which is exciting because I wanted to see more of him last year, but he just was buried on the depth chart. So I think they have a lot of guys that could step up in this spot. It might not be one person, but it's going to be like I think everybody is probably going to just like as a whole group is going to step up stats wise, and I wouldn't be surprised if like one of them has a pretty notable leap.
Yeah. I think the Pacers honestly are going to be still a super fun team to watch. I'll probably tune into a lot of their games.
Mm,
And I think not next season, but the season after this upcoming season, when they get Halliburton back, if we see like big development from Nemhard and Matherin this year, I
mhm.
mean, we're talking about like a team that I would have as my favorite to win the championship if those guys take big jumps this year. I
Yeah.
think they're going to be a really good team a couple years from now. So this is definitely a very important season for the Pacers. Um, I know they're kind of going from like this team that's one game away from the finals to you really have no championship aspirations at all. But I think this is still going to be a very important season for their team to stay focused. And I think the fan base will still stay just as involved, even though they know that they're not really going to have anywhere to go at the end of the year. But
Mhm.
I'm still excited to watch them play.
I agree with that. I think you mentioned Carlisle. Like this is the kind of this team and the way like Halliburton getting hurt. Like this is the kind of thing that will showcase how good Carlisle is if you don't know already. Because
Hmm.
like if he finds a way to win without his best player, I mean like that is just it's going to be a huge test for him to really step up and find ways for them to win these games. Which I don't doubt that he will because Carlisle is that good, no doubt about it. All right, who do you got next?
First takes favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers. My question for them is how long before Reddick adjusts the rotation? Obviously, CBS Sports is not like the most reliable depth chart thing in the world, but you'd imagine the
Hmm.
roster they're going to roll out with this season is going to be Luca, Reeves, Rui, LeBron, Aiton. That team is going to be impossible to stop offensively and will not get one stop on defense. You pick up Marcus Smart, who's still, I think, one of the better point of attack defenders in the league. I'm
Hmm.
wondering how many games they get in because Reddick's a big analytics guy, and we all know he's not stupid. Like he probably already knows that the Lakers aren't going to get any stops with the lineup that he's planning to roll out, if he's
Hmm.
planning to roll out that lineup as his starting lineup. I'm wondering how many games it would take of that lineup not being able to get a stop before he adjusts maybe Smart into the starting rotation, has Reeves as a sixth man, maybe he does something with Vanderbilt, puts him in, because with all that shooting, maybe you could afford to have Vanderbilt there. They have a ton of talent on their team. I think the Lakers, like talent wise, you could put them towards that top 5 conversation in the league. It's very weird, their talent, because it's a lot more offensive sided. But
Yeah.
and LeBron, we don't. LeBron's honestly for the first time, maybe in his career, a question mark going into the season, because he did look a lot worse last year. We don't know how good he's going to be this year.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see the Lakers this year. And Reddick's kind of the big question for me, though, is how is he going to adjust the rotation throughout the year? How is he going to deal with all this talent on his team? How is he going to move them around?
And I also want to add to the LeBron thing, um, is that he missed practice today because of, I think they said like groin ligament, like uncomfortableness or something. But then he showed up on the Kai Cenat stream later that night. So, there's some trouble in paradise as to what his priorities are this season. Maybe he's more interested in the streaming world. He's going to he might be in streamer prom. I'm not too sure. Um, Wait, so your question is how will JJ Redick
how
make
how
this
long before
roster work,
Reddick
basically?
starts adjusting the rotation?
Oh, I
Like how
mean,
many games, weeks? What do we think?
I think it'll be pretty quick, honestly. So Aiton is going to do one of two things this season. I mean, I guess it's kind of obvious. He's either going to look really good or really not good at all. Because him playing with Luca is like he's never played with a better lob. I mean, I guess CP3, but like Luca is as good of a lob threat as you could possibly get out there.
Yep.
And like as a role man, he's gonna feast this season. But we've seen Aiton like be scared of going for rebounds, not play defense at all, and JJ Redick has made it so clear that he is a defensive kind of coach. Where I mean, unfortunately he does not have any good defensive players for the most part on his team right now. But like last season in the playoffs, he was playing the same starting five for basically 48 minutes because he didn't have a single good center that could play defense, and he still doesn't now because DeAndre Ayton is going to infuriate him. Um, yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's not long into the season where you're seeing Aiton maybe come off the bench or, like spot start here and there, or like come off the bench as a six man but still get more minutes than the other starting center. Who I guess you're probably still starting Jackson Hayes at the backup big. I don't really know who else it would be on this roster. I know they don't want to run Rui at the five. LeBron can't run the five at this point of his career. Like, I'm seeing, like, they have I think no, they cut Kyler Kelly, so, yeah, that's really what it is. I think they have Adu Thiero, like, and he's 6'8", so it's not they don't have a backup center. Like, Jackson Hayes sucks. JJ Redick made that very clear that he does not like Jackson Hayes, but they just didn't have anything else to do on the center market. They were too slow in free agency, and they kinda let everybody pass them by. And, yeah, I mean, they replace DFS with Marcus Smart, which is a downgrade for sure, but at least Marcus Smart is somewhat a defender still. But as for your question, I would say it's not long into the season that you see JJ Redick making tweaks because I don't think Aiton's going to be a consistently good player for them this year. Um, all right, I can move along to my next team. Let me pull it up. I have the Clippers move into the other side of LA. And it's what happens with the Kawhi situation. Um, and I'll ask both questions now because this is kind of a two-parter. So, what happens with Kawhi, and is this their final year to contend? If, like, depending on that situation. Um, so obviously the Kawhi stuff, like if people haven't seen the whole aspiration tree stuff, will he get suspended? Will he get cut? It's kind of up in the air now. People don't fully know yet. But yeah, what do you think that comes out of this situation, and what is their outlook on this year and maybe the future?
It's hard to say. Silver has like, whoa, what just happened? All right.
There you go.
Silver has said, or not said, Silver has shown, like, pretty much from the moment he got into the league with the Sterling situation, that he is like not for nonsense when it comes to like this kind of stuff that's against the rules. If it turns out
Hmm.
that this is something that Kawhi and the Clippers were doing, and the NBA does this investigation or whatever and confirms all this stuff, I would imagine that Silver's probably suspending him for the entire year.
Hmm.
Um, and if that's the case, obviously the Clipper season is over. I think, like we saw last year, Kawhi didn't play most of the year, and the Clippers were fine. Once they got him back, they looked like they were like a serious potential contender, even.
Mhm.
which that's the Clippers fall for it every year. I'm probably going to do it again if they look good by midseason. But if Kawhi is able to play, which I would be surprised if they investigate, find him guilty, and let him play, that would surprise me. But if he is able to play, um, I don't. What was the question? If they can win it, or like if this is the
Yeah,
last year for them?
yeah, so basically, like, is this their final year to, like, truly be a contender? I mean, they kinda
Yeah,
they put the pieces together last season, and they had a I feel like a great offseason, adding in a ton of
yeah,
guys. I mean, like, Brook Lopez to be their backup big instead of, like, what was it last year? Mason Plumlee.
yeah.
Um, they,
Or
bringing
no, it's
back
Drew
Chris.
Eubanks.
Oh, yeah, it was Drew
It
Eubanks. Like,
was
oh my
Drew
god,
Eubanks.
even worse somehow. They bring back Chris Paul for his retirement tour. They bring in Bradley Beal. They trade for John Collins and lose Norman Powell. So I feel like they really overhauled this roster, and it looks to be much better than last season. They filled up all their holes that they had from last year. They have a true 10-man rotation, which a lot of
Yeah,
teams can't say. Um,
they
yeah,
they have a very talented team. I think there's a lot of when you have a guy like Harden, and if they have a guy like Kawhi out there, and you have Beal, like you have an offensive punch right there. Zubac, great post player. You have Collins, great lob threat to work with Harden. Like that's a really good collection of players, and it'd be kind
mhm.
of interesting to see like what their numbers look like because that's a one basketball and a lot of people who need it. But if they can find a way to make that work, and I think Tyronn Lue could find a way to make that work, that is very interesting starting lineup. They have the depth. I think obviously if they're healthy, they're looking like one of the three or four best teams roster wise in the West. But to me, all this age on this team, it feels like even especially with their history, the injuries this year are inevitable. Even if Kawhi is able to play, I feel like injuries are going to decimate this team. Um,
Mhm.
but I do say like if they're healthy, this does feel like the last year for the Clippers to contend. Otherwise, it gets to a point where you kind of have to start looking at the future and blowing this roster up a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like they retooled it well to like truly contend better, like even better than they did last year. And even if Kawhi is suspended for this season, I think that they'll still be a good regular season team. But
Mhm.
without Kawhi, their postseason hopes are like zero, in my opinion. I just don't see James Harden being the number one option on a championship contender. Whereas if you have Kawhi out there, which he wasn't even amazing in that series against the Nuggets, he had like two good games, like two great
Mhm.
games. Um,
Mhm.
I think that like without Kawhi, I wouldn't take them to win a series in the West. But with him, I think that I could totally still take them. I mean, I think I had them beating the Nuggets this year. Uh, it was probably me hoping more so than me genuinely believing. Um, but yeah, for the Kawhi situation, I don't think he gets suspended, but also I don't really know that much about it. Like we don't know enough to truly have strong opinions on the matter.
Mhm.
Um, but all right, you can. Who's your next team?
The Memphis Grizzlies. The team's already banged up this year. Edie
Yeah.
and Jaron Jackson are already hurt.
Mhm.
You lose Desmond Bain, and Jaw's always a question mark in terms of health. So I think it's kind of fair to say at this point, this big three that you had going with the Bain, the Jaron Jackson, and Jaw. Obviously, with Bain gone, that big three is over. But this
Mhm.
whole kind of situation hasn't really worked out for them.
Yep.
I'm wondering. My question is, does one of Ja or Jaron Jackson become available by the deadline? Because I'm seeing this team as probably a team that is probably going to be in the outskirts of the play and probably in that type of area this season, 10th or 11th in the West, I'm thinking. And I could see a lot of teams calling Memphis and asking them if one of their two stars is available because it's been a very tumultuous last couple of years for them. And I feel like one of those guys should be available. From if I were in their front office, I would be shopping those guys.
Yeah. So I feel like, man, it is. That's a good question. If I were them, I'm at least putting out feelers for people interested in Ja or Jaren. I would think that Jaren would get more trade value than Ja. Um, but Ja is the bigger name. I don't see them trading Ja because he's such a like Memphis favorite. Like he's so like he just embodies that team and like the culture
Yeah.
of the city.
Mhm.
That I don't think that they will trade him. But I've never been that high on Ja. Like I think he's a good player, but especially the last few years, I feel like was very injury prone, stuff off the court, like up and down play. So I'm not that high on him being like a like a very high usage guy to lead you to like the promised land. I don't think that he will be that. So I would trade Ja before Jaren, but do I think that they will get traded? I will say no. Do I think that they should? I will say yes because your value is only getting lower. Like every time you wait is just another like whether it's the deadline or the offseason or the deadline or the offseason, like it's just another period of time that like it's another year off the contract. It's another year that teams maybe the team that the perfect fit would have been there is no longer in contention. So yeah, I think if the opportunity is there, a team will send an offer that they will strongly consider at least. Because I mean, if I'm a team like and I could have the possibility to get Jaren, he's the type of guy that will put you over the edge in contention, especially if he goes to an Eastern Conference team. I don't
Oh
really
yeah,
know off the top of my head who that would be. Um, but
maybe like the
there's
Pistons.
yeah. Oh my god, that would be crazy. The Pistons would make
That
a
would be
lot of
nuts.
sense. Yeah, the Pistons would make a lot of sense. I don't know if the Bucks could do it. I don't know how that would work, but like the
That'd be
Bucks could
cool
make sense
too.
maybe. Yeah, him
That
and
front
Giannis,
court.
it would be crazy. I guess they run Giannis at center, or I mean they have Miles Turner too.
Probably.
So I guess they run Jaren at the three. I don't know. That'd be and then Kyle Kuzma at the two. I don't know. That's a big team. I mean, just cut Kuz honestly, but
Yeah, just get rid of him.
but yeah, I don't know. That's the Pistons make a ton of sense because they have a lot of young guys. Like they could trade. I don't know exactly who it would be, but they've got a lot of young guys that they could trade there. But yeah, Jared makes more sense for a trade to me than Ja. That's a good question though because I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up happening. All right, moving along. Dallas Mavericks. Can they run a two timeline like how do they handle can they do the two timelines that the Warriors tried to do with like Kaminga and Curry and Moody and Draymond Clay, like all of them at the same time. The Mavericks have they just drafted Cooper Flag, but they also have Kyrie and Anthony Davis and a Clay Thompson. Like they have an older squad. So how can they make the two timelines work?
Um, it's gonna be weird this season because Kyrie's gonna be out for a lot of it.
Hmm.
Um, so I also think that might actually work in their favor though, because I think well, sorry. I think Cooper Flag's going to get a lot of opportunity, a lot more opportunity than he would have if Kyrie was healthy earlier in the season. Might be a little shaky at the start of things, but um, I think it's very difficult to manage two timelines at once. But I think with a player like Cooper Flag, the Mavericks can make it work because he's so good that he's going to be good enough right away to be a player that can help you compete for a championship in the next couple of years while
Yep.
still improving and helping you plan for the future with him after that. So I think the
Mm,
Mavericks can pull it off. I don't think it'll be easy, but I still think they're going to be a playoff team this year. So I think Flag gets playoff experience this season. And then I think next season is kind of where we'll see the Flag leap. Maybe he could even become the second best player on the team by next season. Um, I think that will be very interesting to keep an eye on throughout the season, though, is like how does Flag start? How does his role adjust when Kyrie comes back, whenever that is? And I think that will kind of give us a clue as to which way the Mavericks are leaning in
mm,
terms of what they want to do. My thoughts would be that they're probably going to lean towards winning now because you do
yep.
have Kyrie and Anthony Davis. That is still a team that can compete. You have Lively, you have
Mm.
Cooper Flag. That's definitely a team that could compete for a championship in the next couple of years. But I think the way that the player that they got is going to make it very easy for both timelines to work for them.
Yeah, I think honestly, I mean the West is good, but like they're not it's not such a good conference to me. Like I could see the Mavericks still finishing ahead of the Warriors. And you've got guaranteed teams below you like the Blazers, Jazz, Suns, Kings, Pelicans, probably Spurs. I would unless the Spurs like dramatic increase in wins this season. I don't think that they'll finish ahead of the Mavericks. So like that's enough teams to just guarantee you a play-in spot. And there's a chance that they can make the playoffs. I don't think it's likely because Anthony Davis is a number one option. We've seen him like be really good for a month and then he gets hurt because he can't take the wear and tear. So I
Yep.
think they're really, really expecting a lot out of Cooper Flag this season. Um, and that kind of scares me because I think he, for the generational takes that he's gotten, or like he's best number one pick since Wemby, and before that was LeBron and whatever. Like it's, I I think they're putting a lot of expectations and weight on his shoulders that I don't know if he'll deliver. Um, because I mean, we'll see. Maybe he is that good, but like it's just it's hard to imagine him being like all-star level player that they need him to be day one.
Well, that's the thing with him too, is like he's not just any number one pick. He's the guy that has to no fault of his own, be kind of the fill-in for Luca because of
Yeah,
his general manager's incompetence.
yeah.
So he has to fill the shoes of the guy that was a savior for a city and come in
Mhm,
and be their savior right away, which obviously to be a great player in this league, you have to be able to live up to those expectations and handle that pressure. Every superstar number one pick in the history of the NBA that ended up being a superstar was able to handle that pressure.
mhm.
And I think Cooper Flag will be fine under that pressure. Honestly, he seems like a player that's able to handle those moments pretty well. Um, so I don't think it'll be an issue for him, but I do think it'll be interesting to see right away how he looks, because if he comes out and he's just balling right away, I mean, the Mavericks could be a much more serious threat a lot sooner than they maybe even they expected to be once Kyrie comes back.
So yeah, I was just thinking while you're saying that. Imagine this team with Luca, like when Anthony Davis and Luca, like it would be a great team. It would be a great team. Um, yeah, but so the Hornets projected starting lineup just got tweeted out. I know we're not talking about the Hornets anymore. But it's Lamelo, Knipple, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, Musa Diabate. So like, they're running Diabate at center, I guess. Um, interesting,
It's better than
but
Mason Plumlee probably. So
yeah, it is. It is. Um, I mean, maybe they're. I guess maybe this bonus makes sense for them. I think that they need a defensive center because the rest of that team is not defensive. But whatever. Um, I don't think we need to say anything else about the Mavericks. Who else? Who's your next team up?
So I talked about the Grizzlies. Now I talk about the Magic, who got Desmond Bain from the Grizzlies. So they bring him in to kind of address some of these offensive issues that have caused them to get knocked out in the first round the last couple of years. But my question for this team is, where is the playmaking going to come from? Because Desmond Bain's not really a playmaker.
Hmm.
Paulo, not I wouldn't really call him like I wouldn't really want him to be my playmaking hub. I wouldn't really consider him a bad playmaker, but I wouldn't him as a playmaking hub, I think, is bad. And I wouldn't really want Wagner as my playmaking hub either. So I'm wondering, is there a point in this season where they trade for that, or does someone step up to become that for them this season?
A playmaking hub, you said.
Yeah,
Well, they did get Tyus Jones in
they
the
got Tyus
offseason.
Jones.
They did.
Eek.
They did. They signed him. So, that's a very good playmaking option. He sucks, to be honest. He's a very negative player. So I'm stopping trolling him.
Yes.
But uh, that's a good question. I think that they do, because unless it's Anthony Black who steps up into that role, which I don't think he will. I don't see them having that player on the roster right now. I mean, I'm a big fan of Jalen Suggs. I think that he's a really good player, but I don't think that he is that guy either. And I really don't even think he's a point guard. They just have had to play him at that. It could be. I don't think it'll be Jace Richardson. I mean, I really do like Jace Richardson a lot, but I don't think that he's ready to play this season fully. Like, I think he's gonna have to add a lot of weight, or at least like a decent bit of weight. And so I think we'll see more of him next year. Um, as for who that trade could be for, I really don't know off the top of my head. Um, I mean, do you have a name that you thought of when you were coming up with the question? Because I'm going through it
No.
as fast as I can in my head. I can't really think of any. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, hey, maybe it's John Morant.
John Morant, go steal all the Grizzlies players.
I mean, if we're being real, that would make a ton of sense. I mean, they have more stuff to trade. They have more firsts. You could send them. I don't even know what the Grizzlies really want. Um,
I feel like if
yeah, I
they're
don't know.
getting Ja, they're probably going to have to give up Wagner.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And at that point, I
So,
would say no. Yeah,
and that's
Wag-
what I think. I don't think they need like a full blown engine. I think they have players who can score. I just think they need a guy who's more of a ball
Mhm.
handler and this is
Yeah.
me just like spitball. I don't even like have a name in mind. Just like someone who's a ball
I'm trying to think
handler
of one.
while not losing too much defensive value from having to play him over Suggs and over Anthony Black. Um, I'm just wondering who that could be because they have the talent to remain good defensively without Suggs, or as good as Suggs is, without Suggs as their starter,
Hmm.
while gaining the benefits of having more of a playmaker. Because I think if they took an offensive leap this season, they could afford their defense to get a little bit worse. I think they'd be one of the maybe three best teams in the East if that happened.
Yeah, maybe they'll be a top 20 offense for once in the league. That'd be cool. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of as many teams as I can right now. I really don't know. I mean, hey, trade Colin Sexton. I mean, that could be it. Like that's not even
That's solid, yeah.
yeah, that's a pretty easy trade to make, and I don't think the Hornets particularly want him on the roster. So, like that would make a ton of sense to me. That's a good question though. I'm not because they definitely that is their biggest hole right now. That and shooting, which Desmond Bain hopefully will majorly address. But like, you need Paolo to be a better shooter and better defender, and you need these guys to stay healthy too. Yeah, I don't know who the playmaker is. Maybe I'll think of it and have an answer for next pod because there's definitely somebody out there that they could trade for. Um, I just don't have the name off the top of my head. All right, moving along to the Golden State Warriors. Uh, did they based on their offseason moves of adding Al Horford and re-signing um
Melton
uh
and Peyton.
Melton and Kaminga? Do
Yeah, Peyton
they
too, right?
Oh, yeah, and Gary Payton, you're right, yep. Is that enough for you to have them like where do they rank? Where are they in your West now? Because obviously they beat the Rockets in 7 last year, and then Curry goes down in game 1 or game 2, whatever, and
Honestly,
like the series was over with the
I
T-Wolves. So.
I think they're still a contender if they're healthy. I thought they were really good after the deadline, and that's why I was kind of disappointed at the fact that they did nothing for like the first 2 months of the offseason. Because when we
Yeah.
were doing our offseason grades, I think we both agreed that the Warriors had by far the worst offseason out of
Yeah,
any
I
team.
I think we both gave him an F.
Yeah.
Like I get
So
Jimmy was sort of their offseason and like I understand that, but when you like I think that take when people say like, "Oh, the guy we got at the deadline is their offseason." Like when the Pacers did that with Siakam. I get that because the Pacers didn't like super achieve when Siakam got there for that first stint. But then like now you have to make some more moves to contend. Like when you're the Warriors and Jimmy Butler plays as well as he does and you beat this Rockets team that has like people were claiming was going to upset you because they're such a young and upcoming team. And then you go into the T-Wolves series and you beat them game 1 in Minnesota and you think that they should steal that series and then Curry goes down like I think right. I'm not mistaken there. I'm pretty sure they won game 1 there, and then lost.
against the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah, no, they won that game.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were in
They just.
complete control when Curry
Yeah,
was
yeah,
playing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like they should have done a little. They should have been more aggressive. I don't know what the move would have been, but like Al Horford is your biggest move, and he's going to be your starting center. That that like truly worries me.
And
Um,
what's
yeah.
Horford's like the best center they've had since like Wilt Chamberlain is the worst part too. They haven't had like a real center in
All right, they've
so
been
long.
respect Nate Thurmond. All right.
That's
Um,
true. Nate Thurmond, LeBron's
yeah,
dad.
but like, yeah, they Zaza they've had a lot of bad centers. So, um, yeah, Al Horford can't be your best move. Like he's like 38 years old, but I don't think I would have them as a true contender. Because I'm taking like Thunder, Nuggets, T Wolves, Rockets. I think I'm
I
taking the
think
T Wolves.
I
I
think
think
the
so.
Warriors are better than the Rockets and the Timberwolves. The
Whew.
Rockets, it's mainly because Fred Van Vliet is out.
I
So I think they're kind of screwed. But
I would still take
I think
the Warriors for sure. I mean,
I think the
if you add KD and take away Fred VanVleet from last year, and assuming Amen and like everybody else kind of improves to the amount that you expect, like you really think
uh,
that it's going 7 and the Warriors win again, or even the Warriors win before that? Like that feels hard for me to believe.
I feel like the Warriors would still win. Although
All right, fair enough, fair enough.
I'm not really super high on KD anymore. I think he's definitely obviously better than Fred VanVleet is by a really good bit. But
Mm,
um, I think they would have beat the Timberwolves if Curry stayed healthy. And I
I kind of
think
agree.
I honestly think Horford's a really good piece for them to add. I was pushing for the Warriors to add Brooke Lopez, and
So was I.
I think Al Horford is better than Brooke Lopez in some ways, worse than him in others. But I think he fits well for what they're trying to do. They get another floor spacer at center,
Mhm.
which they haven't had in. I
Forever.
mean, they had like Quentin Post, but like this is like
Yeah,
an actual,
since like
like not.
Draymond played center and like was a good
Yeah,
floor stretcher.
I think a lineup of Curry, um, whoever you decide to throw into the two. Melton was decent for them at the start of last season before he got hurt. Butler, Draymond, Horford. I think it's a really good team. Honestly, I think Curry is still probably a top 5 player in the league. I think he still gives you a chance to compete with anybody on any given night in the playoffs. I think he's still Jokic, Shea. He's probably like third best offensive engine in the league still. So I'm excited to watch this team this year. I have a roommate who watches the Warriors, so I'll be watching all their games.
Mm.
And I
The two
think
guard is probably Pods or Buddy Hield.
Pods too. Yeah, I didn't think of Pods. Pods probably gets better this year. He actually ended up looking really good after starting the season really shaky last year. So
Mm.
they looked really good after the deadline. I think they got better from that deadline, and it's all going to come down to them staying healthy at this point, I think.
Yeah, and I like the Will Richard pick. I know he was like one of the last picks of the draft out of Florida, but I liked him there. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's really going to come down to if Kaminga can improve, if Moody can show anything this season, if they can not play Kevin Knox, hopefully, and yeah, I mean that's really that's all.
Not play Kevin Knox. Yeah, that's
They
always
did
fun.
they did sign Seth Curry, so the Curry
Did they
brothers
actually?
are yeah they did. So the Curry brothers are playing together now, which is
Is that
pretty
the
cool.
first time they've ever been on the same team?
It sure is. So that'll
Oh
be
yeah,
kind of
because
cool to see.
Curry's only played for the Warriors.
Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be some Curry to Curry assists at some point, which will be pretty fun.
That'll be fun to watch. Yeah.
Oh my
All
goodness.
right.
I'm watching the WNBA game, Aces Fever. There's a stretcher coming out. What did I just miss?
For
Oh my
the
goodness.
Aces and the Fever.
Yeah, there's a stretcher coming out. I don't know for which team. I looked away for 1 second. Anyways, moving on though. Who's your next team? We've got probably about each have 5 teams left, I think. So we're almost done.
I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay. Well, yeah, because
This
I went first.
yeah.
Yep.
Sixers. The
Okay.
question for them is going to be in a healthy world, 100% health for every team in the league. Does Embiid still have enough in the tank to take this team to the finals if they're fully healthy?
If if Embiid, you're telling me Embiid is healthy for this season, Paul George is healthy for the season, etc., etc.
Their whole team's healthy, but we had to take into account the fact of how much wear and tear Embiid has on his body. Does he still have enough this season to take them to the finals with how weak the Eastern Conference is? Could he beat the
So,
Cavs and the
okay, wait.
Knicks?
So in this hypothetical, Embiid is going to play in the playoffs, and like,
Be
okay,
fully healthy the whole
yes.
time.
Then if the Sixers are healthy, then yes, they can make the finals, and I probably would take them to make the finals.
Interesting.
Do I think that will happen? Not a chance in hell.
Not
There is a
no.
there is a 0% chance. I would bet my life on it that they. I think it was. Oh my god, was that Aaliyah Boston who got down? I think it might have been.
Ooh.
There was a 0% chance that they are healthy this season between Paul George and Embiid. I mean, you're already seeing Jared McCain gets a thumb ligament injury and is going to be out for quite some time. Yeah, I don't think that this team is going to be healthy enough for them to truly contend. If you promise me that Embiid is going to um play the whole season and play 80 games or close to it, he's going to be all NBA, he's going to be all star, he's going to do all that stuff. He's going to be in the MVP conversation. Um but I just don't see that being a realistic chance for them. Um I'm excited to see like Edgecombe and like, I don't know, all the other guys play. I'm hoping Max McCain can play at some point this season. I saw people saying that that thumb injury could be like season ending. I don't know if that's true or not. I really hope it's not. If that's true, if it's I really hope it's not true. Because the rest of this roster is not super exciting. I mean, Maxi's obviously really good. But like after that, it's not anything that I'm calling home about. Um, but I think that if Embiid's healthy, like he's good enough. He is a Jokic level player where if you have healthy Embiid, like your floor is championship contention, and that's just what it is.
Um, I honestly think if they're fully healthy, I still don't think they'd get in. Um, I think it just comes down to I think Paul George might be cooked even if he is healthy this season.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
I'm
I
banking on his role being smaller this season. I don't think Paul George is gonna be expected to do as much as he was last year, especially after Embiid went down. So, in this hypothetical, if everybody's healthy, I'm thinking Edgecombe's gonna take off some of that steam. I think McCain's gonna help a lot out with that. And so Paul George is gonna be, like, their, like, 4th option. And so, like, if they just need him to score 15 or 18 points a game, like, I think he can do that.
It's just such a shame though that like a team with this much talent, we will literally never know how good this team is because there
100%.
is no way that Embiid's already hurt. Like
Mhm.
there is no
Yeah.
way we're going to see this team at full strength this season, you know. And
Mhm.
honestly, even though I don't think they would beat the Cavs in a series or would beat the Knicks in a series, I still like a team of Maxey, Grimes, George, Embiid,
Yeah. Well, we don't even know
Edgecombe.
Grimes is not even under contract yet, I'm pretty sure.
Is he not
I
yet? I saw him
I
on the depth chart, so I assume they signed
I
him. But
I think that he didn't let me look it up. I don't think that he signed yet, though.
and McCain too. Like this team has so much talent on it, and like the fact that they have been this cursed with the injury bug ever since they've gotten Embiid, especially
Mhm.
Embiid himself, just unable to stay healthy for a full season, is just one of the most unfortunate circumstances in the history of the league. Honestly, because it feels like we were robbed of what would have easily been one of the five best big men to ever play the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, I'm looking at it here from Keith Smith. Quentin Grimes faces a deadline of tomorrow, October 1st, which is, Wednesday, to sign his qualifying offer. If he doesn't sign it, he remains a restricted free agent. Then he can either work on a deal with the Sixers or sign and trade. I know I think he wants like 25 million, which
Damn.
is probably a bit much, but I think PJ Washington just got like 22, so I guess it's not that much anymore. I'm just kind of used to like
Yeah.
25 being a lot, but I know like everything's getting pushed rapidly money wise. I agree, pay him. Quentin Grimes was amazing last season. Like just simply, he was fantastic. So there's like if they have him, McCain, Edgecombe, Paul George, Embiid, Maxi, like that's a really really good team. That I just named 6 or 7 players that are like legitimately good players. Like I don't mean like all right. Yeah. So I think like if they can get him on a contract and this team is healthy, even like marginally healthy, like if Embiid could play 50 games, this is a playoff team without a doubt, I think. Like and
Easily.
especially in
Oh,
the East.
easily.
Yeah, like they could easily be the 4 seed, I think that they could be the 3 seed. Like I mean, it's not like the 3rd team is quite the fall off after the Knicks and Cavs in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
like I don't see why they can't be the 3 seed this year or I mean, they could even be the 2 seed. Like I don't think that's crazy. They just it's depending on how healthy they are. I
Yeah,
mean,
I agree.
they could outright just miss the playoffs like they did last year. Like, yeah, I think their
With
spectrum
the Bonsa
is
too.
yeah, like their spectrum is wider than any team in the league. I feel, and that's basically every season
100%.
because their championship or like we're banking on the first overall pick, which is just like it's just wild. If
I
they got
agree.
to Bonsa, you trade Embiid is I think is what you do. But I don't know who's trading for Embiid too. That's the thing.
We'll
Um,
take him. Give it a
I,
chance.
I'll take him. Send him to the Thunder. Um, all right, moving on. The Phoenix Suns. How does Jalen Green look in a more prominent role? And like then I did like a slash of like finally developing their youth. I don't really know what my question was there, but it's just kind of a pointer of they finally have some youth going on here, and it's not like the unction, like Devin Booker being your young player. You have um, Malawatch. You just traded for Mark Williams. Um, I probably should pull up the rest of the roster. Um, this is a good team though. So, but how do you think what happens with Jalen Green here in this team?
Jalen Green is like, I'm pretty out on Jalen Green at this point in his career. I think it's
Mhm.
pretty over for him. Um, It's going to be a very weird fit because I think the Suns are probably going to go back to the Devin Booker point guard gimmick, and that's just not really his position. It's not really the position he's best at. I would have much rather seen them
I
try to
I think I saw Jalen Green's gonna play point guard, but I could be mistaken.
see Jalen Green's going to play point guard.
I think so. I remember seeing
Oh,
like
it's over.
a month. I remember like after the trade, the initial report was Booker was gonna play point guard, and then like a few days later, it was that Jalen Green was gonna play point guard. So I wouldn't be surprised if they like swap back and forth a bit too. Like they'll probably, each do it a bit.
They'd have
Yeah,
to because I think if Jalen Green played point guard for an entire season, the 2012 Bobcats could finally rest as the worst win percentage in NBA history. I think that would be the worst team I've ever seen in my life if Jalen Green was running the show for the entire year. I
maybe that's
honestly was
the
thinking to myself,
maybe that's the
yeah.
playmaker the Magic need. It's Jalen Green.
Jalen Green initiated offense, save me. Um, wow, I
Jalen
think
Green and
that next
Paolo. I love it.
it wouldn't even be the best playmaking Jalen on the team.
Wow, you're not wrong at all.
This roster, I was thinking to myself the other day at work. I was like, "Are the Phoenix Suns underrated?" They're not. Their team is really, really bad. They could potentially be the worst team in the West. I think, which is
I
unfortunate.
I don't think I'd go that far because I think that they do have like Devin Booker is just so much better than anybody else on the Jazz.
Oh yeah, the
Like
Jazz suck.
I just
That's
don't
true.
see like I think D Book's good enough to not content, but like to get them a few wins because he'll drop like 50 a couple times. And like I really do think that um their draft was fantastic. I mean, they
It
probably had the best
was.
draft in
It
the entire
was.
league. Malawatch was an absolute home run slam dunk. I think the Mark
Yep.
Williams trade was really good.
Yep.
Rasheer Fleming, I was really high on. Um, who else am I missing? Kobe Brea, I thought was
Kobe
a really
Bryant.
good
Yep.
pick. Yeah, like they I think just knocked out of the park pick after pick, and then they still have Ryan Dunn from last year, right? So like I think that this is a their youth is like they're actually having a youth movement in Phoenix, which we haven't seen in since Devin Booker got drafted, basically. Um, so like it's been quite some time, and I'm kind of high on their future, but this season it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see them go in a more defensive direction too,
Oh,
because
100%, 100%.
I think if you surround Booker with defense and then you did get like a real point guard, this could actually be like a play-in or a playoff team in a couple of
Mhm.
years. But as for this season, Jalen Green, I think it's going to be bad. I think him and Booker have very clashing play styles, and Booker's
Yeah.
just like 100 times better than him at it. A lot more efficient than he is. A lot
Yeah.
more. Not a lot. I don't want to say he's like a good defender, but like he's definitely a lot more focused and trustworthy on the defensive end than I would say Jalen Green is. I think Jalen Green's just like an absolute cone who isn't even paying attention half the time. So I don't know. Sometimes we see though these players who are like complete lost cases. It seems like go to new environments and get like a new life in their career. So maybe that could be the case for Jalen Green, but I feel like at this point it would be an outlier case if that ended up
I
happening to him.
I mean, we kind of saw it last year with Bradley Beal, and it was just like a complete disaster.
Yeah.
And I think this is even more so of like a clashing play style because like they both are like I mean Bradley Beal can at least be somewhat of a catch and shoot guy. Jalen Green will never be a catch and shoot guy. He is as ball dominant as they come. AJ Wilson is amazing. My goodness. So yeah, I don't think Jalen Green's gonna have a particularly good season. I don't think that he's gonna have a particularly good career because I don't think he's that good of a player. Um, I don't really have anything else to say about Phoenix. So who's your next team?
Uh
Trying to find it. It should be your Portland Trailblazers. Oh, I wasn't on the tab. He's getting the Lillard jersey.
he's home. Damian Lillard is home. Scoot and Dame, or Scoot's already
Man, I
hurt.
can't
Dame's out for
imagine.
the year. But
I'd be so happy, man.
oh man, he just this is where he belongs. You can already see like he just looks happier in all of his interviews and all everything. He just like has a smile on his face that he didn't really have when he was in Milwaukee. So I'm glad to see that
Mm.
he's happy even with all that's going on for him personally right now. Um, this with Drew Holiday here now, this looks like one of the best defensive rosters in the entire NBA.
Yeah.
and the offense is going to be ugly. So my question is, without Dame on the team right now for this entire season, and Scoot's going to be out for the first few months, but
Mm.
can either Shaden Sharp or Scoot become a legitimate on-ball creator this season? And I think for Sharp, it's pretty unlikely that he ever becomes that. I think his handle is just never going to be tight enough for him to become that. I don't think he'll ever be a
Mm.
playmaker to become that. For Scoot, I think this is kind of the season where like he
It's
either
make or
becomes
break.
this like elite on-ball creator that he was supposed to be in the draft, or Dame's going to come in and swoop up his spot until he's
Mm.
too old to walk. So um,
Yeah.
that would be my question for the
I
team.
So I am very high on Shaden Sharp. I have been since his rookie season. Um, I think that he like obviously high flying like highlight level player, but I think that he can be an on ball guy. Whether I don't think he's like a point guard though. I think he could be like a secondary ball handler. Like I mean, he's a shooting guard, so he's a secondary ball handler kind of guy. Um, I think that this is a year for Shaden Sharp. I mean, it's really the year for both him and Scoop to put up or shut up, basically, because they need one of them to step up to be the offensive like potential engine of the future. Like Denny is kind of the best guy right now, and I don't think that he's even particularly amazing on offense. I mean, you probably hope that it's going to be Young Hansen one day, but that's not going to be this year. And I don't even know how much. Like, I think he's going to play a decent bit this season, but he's not going to be starting. And it's probably a while until he starts because Klingon looks like he's going to be a really good player. Um, so I would lean in the direction. Um, I mean, I want to say Shaden, but realistically, I feel like it's Scoot. Although it's just the injury really puts me back because I think that he's going to lose such an amount of time that it's going to be too harmful for him to maybe bounce back from it super quickly. Like he's going to be rough for those first like few weeks or whatever because he's coming back from injury. He hasn't played for a while, whatever. He has to like get in the groove of the team again. Um, and so I think that it could derail the season a bit for him. At least like for the first little while. But I would put my money on Shaden Sharp for somebody taking that offensive leap to being like a ball dominant, not even ball dominant, but like the offensive dude on the team for the at least this season or the future moving forward.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't know. I think it's going to be hard I honestly think this year it might end up just being Denny for us. I thought he was really
Hmm.
good last year. Obviously, I think he's the best player on the team right now. I think he has a chance to develop into a franchise player.
I
Could be
don't think
kind of an
so.
outlier thing for him. But like last year, he was averaging after the All Star break. I think it was like 20 points, like 8 rebounds, 5 assists, or something like that, which is like really good numbers when you consider how many mouths are getting fed on the team at once. Because it's kind of like,
Mm.
I mean, we were kind of running like an all lives matter offense at the end of the season because we don't really have like a go to guy. Um, we so.
Oh, a what kind of offense?
Scoot Henderson, I think this is definitely the year for him to become the on-ball creator for us.
I've never heard of that
Uh,
before. Holy.
at some point this season. Because he looked good after the All Star break too. He was shooting a lot better. He
Mm.
just looked a lot more confident. So I'm hoping this injury doesn't set him back too far this season. I'm thinking he'll hit the ground running a little bit more this year. And I think if he plays really well this year, I still think Dame starts because it's Dame and it's Portland, and he's probably still going to be over 20 points per game. But I think Scoot will definitely get a lot more minutes when Dame is back if he performs really well this year. So that is my thoughts on the future 2026 NBA champion Portland Trailblazers.
Yikes! I don't know about that. I am excited to see this defense though.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how Tamani Kamara offensive game can round out because obviously the defense is there. He's all defensive team this past season, but can he become more of a two-way player, or is he just going to be like a defensive stalwart guy for his career? Because if he can round out his game even partially, I mean, he's one of the most sought after prospect like players in the league. Then at that point, like
Oh yeah.
it would be because I mean, we're seeing at him. How old is he right now? He's 25. Like at this age, he's this good of a defender already, and he's probably entering his prime in the next few years, like even a slight jump shot would be like an improvement would be just like huge for the teams. Like simply, he could be
Yeah.
a permanent starter at the 4 for them.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the big thing for him will be improving as a catch and shoot player and getting better at attacking closeouts. He does those two things. I think we're talking about one of the 10 best role players in the league, probably.
yeah, no doubt about it. And I've always been really high on him. I liked him in college, and I liked him on the Suns, and I loved the trade for the Blazers when they made the trade to get him. Although it wasn't for him necessarily, it ended up essentially being for him in hindsight. Um, and I feel like you guys have obviously come out on top in that trade because he's
Well, I mean, yeah, we got
yeah, like you got Dame back, and now you got the best player in the trade. So like,
yeah.
yeah, you're looking good. Um, all right, moving along to the Houston Rockets. So this is a two-part question, but it's two questions, but it's basically the same thing here. How does adding KD but losing Fred Van Vliet affect their title contention chances, and what is their realistic ceiling now that Fred Van Vliet goes down?
Um, I think title contention's over. I don't think the Rockets will be contending for a championship this year. And honestly, I think their ceiling is I definitely think their ceiling is like a home court in the playoffs and like
Mm,
making it one round. But I can't see this team going to like the Western Conference Finals anymore unless they're somehow able to avoid both the Nuggets and the Thunder, which would take like the Nuggets getting hurt and falling to like the 4 seed or something for that to happen. Um,
yeah, because
so
the Thunder aren't going to get the 4 seed, so you're going to need the Nuggets to be the 4 seed,
yeah,
every team to win, like every home team to win, and then the Nuggets. But yeah, that's the only route for them to do it.
yeah. So like if they without Van Vliet, who I think like Van Vliet's not like this amazing player. Obviously, Kevin Durant is like a much better player than he is and a huge
Hmm.
addition to their team. It's just like if Kevin Durant has to if Kevin Durant and Amen Thompson are creating offense the entire playoff series for you against a team like the Nuggets or the Thunder, there's no way you're beating them because
Yeah,
the Thunder defense will eat that alive, and you're never going to outshoot the Nuggets with that as your go-to guy offensively. So
mm.
I think that's their ceiling is like one playoff series win, which would still be an improvement from last year.
That's
But
not enough
I
though.
think,
I mean, getting KD like that's an
yeah,
all in move.
yeah, with the expectations they had coming into this year, seeing Van Vliet go down before the season even starts is just such a crushing blow, which makes me think they might even try to do a trade at some point this season because there's a lot of talent there, and they definitely could contend with a little bit better playmaking at the point guard position, or Reed
Yeah,
Shepard stepping up, but I doubt that will happen. So
yeah. So they're gonna obviously have to rely on Reed Shepard more than they were expecting to this season. I'm very interested to see how he does because like he had, you know, like he was a high level prospect, like a third overall pick, like great in the G League, whatever. Um, I don't, I don't know how he's gonna be as like a if they're actually gonna start him day one. It feels interesting to me. I don't know if I love that. Um, I think you're gonna have to like you. They needed a men to take a leap this season, like or not even necessarily a leap because he's there as a player, but they're gonna need him to take another step to like true star level player. Oh my goodness, Asia Wilson. But they like now they're gonna need him to tenfold. Like he needs to be maybe their starting point guard at this point for like them to be a true contending team, and he's gonna have to be able to hold that position down. I don't really see that being the case for him this season. I could see that totally being the case down the line because I do think that he has the chops to be a point guard. I think he could kind of play like any position, like 1 through 4. Um, but as for this season, like you said, Fred Van Vliet to me is he's kind of in that Jamal Murray tier of like, and everybody says Jamal Murray like is the best non All Star or the most underrated non All Star, whatever. I think that is Fred Van Vliet as like the most underrated guy. Like him going down is almost as crushing as Jamal Murray going down for that team. If he were to go down for the Nuggets, like I think it's kind of the way that he was able to facilitate this offense as so clearly the only guy that can. And like if he's not out there, they try to run like a Kings offense with um Sengun being Sabonis, and it doesn't work as well. Like he's not as good of an offensive hub as Sabonis is. Um, I just think that he the way he was able to be the consistent 3-point shooter for this team who had no other good 3-point shooters, and then be the only main facilitator, they're really gonna miss him. We'll see how Reed Shepherd looks because it's gonna tell like a lot for the season in the first few weeks how he if he can be even partially as good as Fred VanVleet was for them. Um, as for championship contention, I don't see it. I think that there's a world that they make the Western Conference Finals. I think it's the Nuggets, not the Thunder. Um, I don't think it's likely though, but I think there's like a potential for it. But I would still say them taking them in the Western semis, winning the first round, and then losing to Nuggets/Thunder. But that'll be a good series if they play the Thunder or the Nuggets. I think that'd be a great series. Um, so I would be excited for that one, no doubt. All right. I've got 3 teams. You've got 4. Let's get these last few done. Who do you got next?
The New York Knicks.
Right.
Consistently coming up short. The roster loaded with talent. My question for them this year is this year championship or bust for the Knicks? I think yes, especially with how open the East is.
100%.
I think at least making the finals, like at least winning the East this year. If they don't do that, I think both their team and their fan base especially will be getting very frustrated and disappointed with this team.
No doubt about it. It's championship or bust, like without a doubt. It's such a wide open East. It's them or the Cavs, is what everybody's saying. It's what we've said multiple times on this podcast already. And so, if they don't win it all, that's a disappointment. I mean, not even necessarily win it all, but they have to make the finals. That is a disappointment if they don't, because they made they made the conference finals last season. That is the new floor for them. That is the expectation. And so if you don't if they don't reach the conference finals, that is a devastation. If they reach it and lose, that is a disappointment on the season. And if they make the finals, then that is an improvement and what they would want. I don't think they're going to win the finals because I think that they lose pretty comfortably to the Nuggets. I think they get destroyed by the Thunder. That's probably honestly right now. I only see the Nuggets and Thunder coming out of the West, and I only see the Cavs or Knicks, maybe the Sixers if they're healthy, coming out of the East. So, and I'm sure that'll change. I mean, last season I was confident on the Thunder and the Celtics, and obviously the Celtics go down, and like they didn't even look that good when they were healthy. So anything could, we've got a little under a month till basketball starts. Thursday is when the preseason starts, which I'm so excited about. But yeah, it's championship or bust, no doubt about it. I mean, their offseason was fantastic. They shored up that bench 10 times over. They brought in Brogdon and Yabu and Jordan Clarkson and Deuce McBride. They re-signed, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody else. So yeah, championship or bust, no doubt about it. All right, next team up, the New Orleans Pelicans. Can they make the playoffs after revamping their team, plus trading next year's first round pick, which they ended up taking Derek Queen in that trade? So yeah, like, what do you think that their ceiling looks like? Can they make the playoffs?
I don't think so. I think that there's just too many good teams in the West that are going to flirt with the 50-win range. I think they could be a play-in team. We saw a couple of years ago when they were healthy and they had a different roster than they do now. I think their roster might even be better now than it was then. They were a team that was probably going to make the playoffs. Honestly, like I think they were going to beat the Lakers in that play-in game if Zion had stayed healthy. But I think when you look at the West, there's too many great teams at the top eating up all those top spots. You got the Thunder, there's the Nuggets, there's both LA teams. You have Minnesota, you have the Rockets, you have, the Spurs are going to be back in the mix probably in the play-in talks this year with Wemby being healthy.
The Trailblazers, like you said, winning the finals.
Trailblazers are going to be a play-in caliber team that's going to make a championship run.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think they could be a play-in team. I think they can flirt with like making the playoffs, but I wouldn't bet on the Pelicans to make the playoffs this season. And that has less to do with like what's on the roster and more to do with the fact that I kind of know they're going to get hurt. But I think even if they were healthy, I don't think I would bet on this team to get in.
That's fair. I mean, Zion does look to be like in fantastic shape. I don't remember who it was on the team. It might have been Herb Jones that said it. That this is like the best he's looked like in shape wise that he's been like since that he's been here.
He looks
So
good. Yeah.
yeah, he looks like he's skinny. He lost a lot of weight, and when he got back midseason last year, he was like playing fantastic. He was great last season. Um, but obviously they were kind of like he was playing for nothing at that point. The season was very over. They get Dejounte Murray back from the Achilles tear. They bring in Jordan Poole in the CJ McCollum trade. Like I said, they drafted Derek Queen. Um, they signed Kevon Looney. Uh, they drafted Jeremiah Fears, who I'm a big fan of. I think that he's a very exciting player for them. Oh, they got Hunter Dickinson. I didn't know that. That's cool. Um, so yeah, they've got a lot of pieces that are like somewhat cool. I mean, Yves Missy still was good last season. I think everybody's high on Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. Um, as for the playoffs, I know that um, I forget who their GM is, but he went on a press conference and just it's a former player. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. And he said that their expectations are not the playoffs, even though they traded next year's first, which is pretty crazy if that's not your expectation. I think that they could sneak into the playoffs if Zion is like back to his prime, like all NBA self. I wouldn't bet on it though. I think play in is probably where I would have them at. And I do feel like pretty okay saying that they make the play in. I think that they are definitely a play in roster. But they've been so injured these last few years that I wouldn't be surprised if they get hurt again.
Yeah. All right. The Milwaukee Bucks. Without Giannis, like I said a couple months ago, I think this is the worst roster in the NBA if you were to take him off this team.
Mhm.
Um, my question for the Bucks this season is what kind of ungodly stat line will Giannis average this season? Because I think we're going to see one of the craziest seasons by a player we've seen in a long time. And it's probably going to go, not probably, it is going to go to waste because his team is completely awful.
Yeah, and he won't win an MVP, and he won't get a DPOY. So
Nope.
he's just gonna go average 34. Let me pull up his stats from last season to
I'm
dedicate.
thinking he's going
So,
to average like 35, 13, and 6.
well, 35 is like only a few players have ever done that. He averaged
I
30 and a
think.
half last season. Nine or that's 12 rebounds and 6.5 assists, 1.2 blocks and one steal. He's probably averaging, I'll say like 30. I'll say like 32. Um, like 13 and 6.9 assists per game on like a block and a half and 1.1 steals. Like it's gonna be. I mean, he's gonna be averaging 3 stocks almost on 30 plus 13 and 7. Like he's going to have the best all around season to ever happen. And he will carry them to 48 to 52 wins. And it won't even matter because he won't win the MVP over Shea or Jokic. And they'll get first round.
Yeah, that's looking like what's going to happen to the Bucks this season. I mean, they have done a complete disservice to Giannis ever since they've won the championship. Well, like the couple years following his championship, some of it's been bad luck, bad injury luck. Excuse me. Middleton kept getting hurt. Gets Dame. He's finally got a second guy to play with, and he gets hurt. So maybe it isn't really on their management either, but it's just been a very unlucky stretch of seasons for the Bucks, and I honestly think as long as Giannis is there, they're going to be competitive. But it's really hard for me to see like how they're going to get this back to being a championship contending team because I mean, not a lot of people want to play in Milwaukee, and they're never going to have good draft capital with a guy like Giannis on their team. I mean, they're going to win at least
Mm.
46 games every year. So
Yeah, he will hold you out of that like top contention spot, no doubt about it. And if he gets hurt this season, which God forbid he does, because like he's everybody's top one of the top favorite players to watch. Um, but if he does, this team is like you said the worst roster in the league without a doubt.
unwatchable.
Yeah, like unwatchably bad. I mean, they're almost unwatchable already. The only reason they are watchable is because Giannis. Like when he goes to the bench, like you can go switch to another game. I mean, you're looking at who's their best player if he goes down? Bobby Portis.
Miles Turner.
It's Miles Turner, obviously, yes. And then like, oh my god, a Miles Turner led team. All right, sure.
It's
Yeah,
over.
sure. Miles Turner, Kyle Kuzma, Gary Harris, Cole Anthony, and Bobby Portis rolling out there. That is
Kevin
a
Porter,
great roster.
my
Yeah, I
God.
think Kevin Porter might be starting at point guard or their sixth man for them.
I think he
It's just
is, yeah.
it's just bad looks. It's bad looks. Yeah. Giannis is gonna have a crazy season, and like I said, probably won't win MVP unless he gets like a 3 or 4 seed, which he would have to like be literally prime wilt to do that. All right, we can move on to my second to last team, Utah Jazz. Um, is this their year for the first overall pick? Um,
Nope.
you don't think so? You don't think that they get the first overall pick, even though the with that
They'll have the one of the
tied
two
for best
worst
odds?
records in the league.
Mm.
I think it'll be them and the Nets.
Oh my goodness!
But I
Sorry,
think they will
jump
finish with
in
like
here.
the eighth pick.
A minute 20 left in the fourth quarter. Aces are up 2. This is the game to decide who moves on to the next round. But go on with what you're saying.
I think they finish with like the eighth pick. I think all the top
Wow.
lottery picks, all
Wow.
the top lottery picks will go to like teams that are established and have injured players.
Mm.
And we'll see like all the top talents go to big markets because Silver knows that's where the money's at. Um, yeah, if the Jazz go like 13-69, they won't even finish in the top 4. So them, the Hornets, the Nets, uh, the Suns, don't bank on getting a high pick this year because it's going to Boston, it's going to Chicago, and you're gonna
It's
like
going to
it.
the Thunder. Yep, 100%.
It's OKC's pick is gonna be top 3, like, and you're gonna sit there and enjoy all the best players going to the same teams every year.
Darren Peterson, welcome to Oklahoma City. Oh my God, that happened. We would never
Insane.
lose at finals for the next 10 years.
Yeah, it'd be
Um,
insane.
all right, this is actually a 2-part question though, because the Jazz deserve extra airtime. How do Cody Williams and Ace Bailey look this season?
Bad.
Damn, Rutgers Rutgers legend Ace Bailey looks bad this
Yeah.
season.
I don't think Ace Bailey is going to be that good this season. I mean, he'll probably go out there and no, I don't even know if he'll have fun because I don't even think he wanted to be there. But he'll go out there and get shots up. That'll happen.
Mm.
And maybe that's all. Maybe that's what the Jazz goal should be this season is just for Ace Bailey to just launch the basketball at the rim all year. But I think it's going to be. I don't know if I'll tune into more than 3 Jazz games this season. It's going to be a struggle to sit through 48 minutes of that.
Mm.
I don't know
I
how Cody
I probably
Williams
will
is
for like
still
a
rostered.
yeah, low key. You're not that wrong about that. It is older brother J Dub like syndrome where like they're like he's got the potential. We have to keep him.
The
But
outlier
yeah,
development.
yeah, he's obviously bad 2 seasons. I'm holding out some degree of hope for him this season. Of like I'm not giving up on him fully yet. But if he doesn't show it again this season, then like we're done. We're done for sure. It's over. Yeah, that we don't need to talk about the Jazz anymore. All right,
Yeah, no more
who's
Jazz.
your second to last?
The Detroit Pistons.
Okay.
They got Ivy back this season.
Yep.
Cade's probably about to enter his prime right now,
Yeah, I'm
and
really excited for Ivy to be back. I'm very happy about that.
yeah, and Azar and Ron Holland, are going to continue to get better. I think this season. So my question for Detroit is: will they finish with home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs? I think that they will. I think they're going to be a very good team this year, and I think I'm struggling to think of like 4 teams that I would clearly put ahead of them. I think they're right in
Mhm.
like that top 5 conversation, and I think they'll improve enough this year to where they will find themselves and with home court to start the first round.
Honestly, so they were the 6th seed last year.
Mhm.
I'll take them having. I'll have them at the 3 seed. I think that they only finished behind the Cavs and Knicks. To me, they are the third best team in the East. Um, I do feel decently comfortable saying that. Again, if the Sixers are fully healthy, then I think that the Sixers probably get the 3 seed, and then the
Yeah.
Pistons go to 4. But I won't bet on that happening, so I'll take the Pistons here. Um, yeah, Asar, his like for some reason he's always overshadowed by a men, even though Asar is arguably a better at least defender. Offensively, Amen has him, but like defense wise, I would probably say Asar is the better defender. Um, and like you said, Ron Holland was showing some potential last season. If he improves more, Cade is already an All NBA, All Star. Like he's gonna be, he could be an MVP candidate one day, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Mhm.
And like the rest of the team is really solid too. Um, I feel pretty comfortable saying that they're going to be the 3 seed because I don't see anybody else being on their level. I don't think that they're fully on the level of the Cavs or Knicks, but they should at least get the 4 seed. If somebody surprisingly beats them out to the 3, then they should get the 4. I'm trying to look at the roster really quick. I mean, they brought in Duncan Robinson to replace Malik Beasley. They got Karis LeVert. Um, that's basically it. Javante Green is cool, but yeah, that's basically it. Who was their draft pick? I don't even know. Bobby Clintman, and I don't know who else. But whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah, this should be the 3 seed. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. All right, my last team, Minnesota. Can all right, this is another two-parter, but I feel like it's valid because Minnesota, was in the conference finals. Can Ant elevate to an MVP candidate this season?
Yes, I think he was honestly already there last year. They just weren't really a good enough team for it. But I think Anthony Edwards is like right there in the top 5 conversation this season.
Mhm.
We're talking about not just one of the most electrifying offensive players in the league, but like a guy that's like truly a culture setter in Minnesota. Like he just has all these guys rallied behind him now. And I
Mhm.
don't even know how old he is. He's like 25 years
I-
old.
If that, I feel
Um,
like he might be 24 still.
yeah, he's just gonna get better. Seeing him grow last year, he became a better playmaker last year. He's making smarter decisions. I think he'll improve there again this year. You could tell he's like one of the hardest working players in the league. After they lost to the Thunder, his first thought was, "I can't wait to get back in the gym and try to beat these guys next year."
Yeah,
Um,
he
I
just
think
turned
we'll see
24
him.
in August.
Wow, yeah. I mean, he's gonna be like
That's
if
crazy.
he's on TV, like he's getting watched if he's
Yeah.
playing that night. So, and I think like took a huge leap as a shooter last year. He's one of the best shooters in the league. I think he was the leader in 3 pointers made last season. So
Mhm.
I think he'll
And he
be
was
an even better shooter this year.
shooting like 10 a game too. Like he was
Forty
just letting it.
percent too. He was like a
Yeah,
really good shooter.
yeah, 10 a game, 40% shooter. He averaged 27 and a half. He's gone up in points per game every season in his career. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if he touches 30 points per game this season, or
no,
at least
not at
like
all.
29. Yeah, Anthony Edwards is one of my favorite players in the league, and I feel like most people would say the same. Um, he's simply ridiculous, and he is a stalwart of health too. Like he's played 70 plus games in every year of his career. He's played in 79 games for 3 straight seasons. Like
Yeah.
that's just ridiculous. Knock on
Mhm.
wood. I hope I don't jinx that there, but he like if this team is a home court advantage team, he could certainly be the MVP because this is not a great roster if we're
100%.
being honest. Like
No, it's not.
it's not that good. Julius Randle is your second best option. Like he was decent last season, but he's still not that good. There's not another All Star on this team, and so if he can be a home court advantage team and you're the only All Star, I feel like that says a lot, and that really goes a long way, at least for me personally, for an MVP conversation. Do I think he'll win it? Probably not. I wouldn't be surprised if he never gets an MVP, but he'll be in the contention for it for a long time.
I think there's going to be a very heavy push for Luca's PR this year for him to win an
I,
MVP. I think if the Lakers finish like top 4 in the West, Luca's probably
yes.
going to get it.
Yeah, I do believe this is a Luca MVP year. Sneak peek for our video in a couple weeks from now when we do our NBA preview awards and stuff. Luca will probably be my MVP. Um, but yeah, and then my second part of this question is: do we see more of Rob Dillingham this season, and can they make the finals after 2 Western Conference Finals appearances?
I don't think Dillingham's very good. I don't think he's going to be good. I think he just has a weird build for the NBA. It's kind of like that
Mhm.
Bones Highland, like just type of player where I don't
Yeah,
know. He's fun to watch, but I don't know how much value he's really going to add. I think by default he'll play more because Conley's just. Is he still on the team? Like he's so
yeah.
old that I just don't know how much longer he's
Moonlight
going to be able to
my
go. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just it's over for him. We appreciated him while he was here, but I do think by default he'll play more this season. I just don't. I feel like he's not that much of a playmaker,
mhm,
so I can't really see like how much he's adding to the Timberwolves team.
yeah,
And I think it's just going to be a lot of Anthony Edwards hero ball this year that's going to kind of carry them into the playoffs. But
I agree. Yeah,
um,
and it's gonna have 40 balls, like up and down every week. So, and if he doesn't, then this team is gonna be like a 7 seed. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they were playing team, because they really don't move the needle much for me. It is just Anthony Edwards being like as good as he is. Um, yeah, I don't know, and like all the talk was the second the season ended, he got back in the gym, like you mentioned, and like all that. I don't know exactly what he's gonna work on because I feel like he's kind of touched on like everything in it. Like, I mean, obviously, there's he's not the perfect player. There's more to work on, but like he is a capable defender. He is an elite scorer. I guess like being a better playmaker, being like a better point guard for the team because he did play point guard a decent bit for them last year. But like that's really the only thing I could see him taking another big leap in. Like he's an overall pretty plus player in basically everything.
all right, that leaves us with our final team, the San Antonio Spurs. A lot of young talent on their team this year.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's spearheaded by the future of the league and Victor Wembanyama, who's been
Rutgers legend Dylan Harper. Yep.
Dylan Harper's there. You got Castle coming off a Rookie of the Year season. You got Fox there. You got Carter Bryant's there now.
Mhm.
Um,
I
not yet,
wanted
not
this
a young
team
guy,
because
but
I had some questions, but go on, yeah.
my question and my
Mm,
answer to this might be yes, although it would
okay.
be a very high mountain for him to climb. So it's
Mm,
probably not very likely.
okay.
Will Victor Wembanyama be the best player in the NBA next season?
No, no,
I think he could be. I
no.
really think he could be. I think he's going to be the best defender of all time.
Yes.
I think he's going to be an elite offensive player next season. And I think those two things together make you the best player in the NBA, even if your team isn't good. Because I can't think of a player for next season that I would rather have on my team. Besides, I can think of like three guys in the conversation with him, and I think I would take him over all three by the end of next season.
Oh, all right. Sorry, we're going to overtime. AJ Wilson didn't touch the ball in the entire last possession of that game. That makes no sense. Um, but yeah, I agree with you. He's going to be the best defensive player of all time by the time his career is over. As for being the best player in the league next season, I don't think so. I mean, like Wemby is my second favorite player. I'm surprised I don't have a jersey of his yet. I love Wemby so much, but I just don't think like he's too young for that to be the expectation. I think he's already the fifth best player in the league. He's my five. I know some people have that. Like it's kind of an unpopular opinion, I guess. I don't really know, but I think that he's got too many holes to beat Jokic or Shea out at the one. I think that his offensive game is not entirely there yet. I don't think he's good enough playmaker. Um, I think that his scoring wise is there. I think his shooting could be better. So he's gonna have to take like a shooting leap and a playmaking leap. And I know he's a center, so he doesn't have to average 10 assists. But like, he just has to be a better like hub of sorts, especially now that he's playing with more talent than he has before. And not to say that he can't, because I expect him to honestly, but I just don't think that he will be able to match. Like his defense is tier one, but like if you look at Jokic, how good his offense is, I don't think that his defense is as good as Jokic's offense, and I don't think his whole game is really even as good as Jokic's offense. Not yet, at least. Because Jokic's defense is basically a negative, and then as for Shea, I think it's kind of a similar thing. Like I don't think that his offense matches Shea's even slightly, and I think his defense is, I guess, comparable to Shea's offense. But like it's pretty like one for one, I guess. But I don't think that Shea's. I think Shea's defense is better than his offense, and I don't think that'll change at least this season. That's not the best way to look at it, but like it's the way that makes the most sense for me right now. Um, I could see him being the best player soon, like 2 years, 3 years from now, maybe even like 4 years because Shea is still young enough. But I don't know if I see it this season.
I think it's going to happen,
Um,
man. I think we're about to witness something special down in San Antonio this year because
So
he's been
you
training
have
with
him.
monks. He's
You have
got
him.
Razel Ghoul training. Like, it's time, man.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen him with Hakeem, KG, Tim Duncan, like
Matt
every.
Bonner.
Yep, like throw him in there too. Dude, I wish Bill Russell was still alive because he would totally get to talk to Bill Russell too. Um,
Hmm.
and he would have loved him because obviously he loved Tim Duncan so much too. Um, I think that my question, if I had one, was going to be about Stefan Castle and like what's his ceiling going to be for this season, and can he like are they going to look to trade him or Fox, like that point guard trio that they have there? But it was going to be something Castle related because to me he's the worst of the three. Um, but yeah, I mean that's basically all I have to say. Big Red Sox win tonight. Aces are on right now. I'll watch that overtime. Huge UFC card this weekend. The first time that's been said in a while. I have Marab winning and Ankalaev knocking out Pereira. Um,
Shout out the Ducks
sports.
for beating Penn State.
Yep, yep,
That
yep,
was a
yep.
great game.
Shout out the Giants for beating the Chargers. And I forgot to put my Malik Neighbors jersey behind me. Man, I that genuinely broke my heart. Like that. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Boston fouled out. Yeah. I I wanted to cry like genuinely when he got hurt. That just I don't know. It's so sad, dude. The Giants
no
can't
more
have
turf,
anything.
man. No more
Yeah,
turf. We're done with
ban the turf.
turf. Like, it's hurting too many key players. Joe Alt got hurt that game too. So,
Mhm. I didn't see
um,
the injury on him. Like I mean, I saw the play. I didn't see what the report was. The play was pretty ugly. Like his leg got like landed on, and his knee kind of bent weird. So I figured it was like MCL or something. But he got
yeah.
carted off. Like it looked like it could have been pretty real. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, MetLife turf. Like man, I could name you 10 players like Odell, Saquon, Sterling Shepard, like Malik Neighbors. There's 10 more I could name if you
DK
wanted to hear.
DK got hurt on that field too.
Yeah, there's so many players you can name that have gotten hurt, and I mean that Jets Niners game a couple years ago where they played in New York, and like 90% of the Niners got hurt. Nick Bosa tore his ACL, and I think like a bunch of receivers got hurt. Like MetLife is just a cursed place. Um, they Mayor is so rich, dude. Like just buy some grass, man. Like I'll mow it if you really need to, dude. Like it's ridiculous. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Giants look pretty good. That was an exciting win. I didn't expect to win that one. Ravens fell off hard. I know this
It's
isn't.
over. Lamar's
Yeah,
hurt. It's over. That team's gonna
yeah.
miss the playoffs. I'm not gonna lie to
Madubuike
you.
is out for the season. It's looking like that might be the case, which is so crazy because they should have won.
They're gonna be. I mean, if
It's Chiefs Eagles again, dude. It's Chiefs Eagles. Who cares?
I can't do it, bro. The Bills. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the White Bison has to save me, bro. The Bills have to win the Super Bowl this year. I
I'm
can't.
honestly I'm gonna root for the Chiefs because I can't have Josh Allen having an MVP, a Super Bowl over Lamar. That would actually end the debate until Lamar gets one.
And Lamar's never going to get one. It's not going to happen. I've accepted it
Yeah.
at this point. The Ravens came into this season with like, oh, we got 53 All Pros on our team. We're going to go 16-1. Like, and this team's about to be. This Lamar misses 3 weeks. This team's going to be 1-6. And when you're 1-6, you are
Unbelievable,
not.
dude.
You are not going to the playoffs, dude. Especially because the second half of their season is hell. Like these are the
Mhm.
3 upcoming games they're going to miss. They're not going to have Lamar for.
Yeah.
Are
Texans,
their like easiest
yeah.
games? All right, they have the
Texans,
Rams.
Rams, Bears. Like, I mean, Texans look pretty good against the Titans, and they've looked good kind of recently. The Rams have been a pretty good team overall this season, and like, I don't know who the hell is guarding Puka. And then the Bears have been in shootouts the last few weeks. Like, he comes back for like maybe the Dolphins. Like the Vikings have a good defense.
If
It's not good. They play like most of their division games, both the Steelers and Bengals games later in the season. They play the Browns again. This is a tough schedule. Um,
if the Ravens defense shows up for a single game that Lamar does not play, I am not going to watch them play for the rest of the year. I am going to
I'll be
boycott that
pissed.
franchise
Yeah,
because you know what? I can't even talk about that
Dude,
team. It pisses me off as if they're my own team
they've allowed
because
35 plus through 3 of the 4 games. I think they have allowed the most points through 4 games. I think in NFL history, maybe I or close to it.
The
Like it's
Chiefs haven't scored 35 plus points in like 3 years, dude. And they just completely mowed down the Ravens defense without their best receiver and a washed Travis Kelsey. Like,
a vintage Mahomes game, as the NFL was putting it.
I
Which like
saw that. That's
he's
sad that
30.
that's being called a
Like
vintage Mahomes game in the middle of his prime, but
yeah,
it's whatever.
whatever. Um, yeah, no, I have full faith in the Chiefs. They getting Worthy back, dude. That offense looked just amazing, which I knew was going to be the case. But like when they
And
get
they'll have
Rashi Rice
Rashid
back,
back. It's
dude, that offense. I drafted Mahomes and Worthy and Rice in so many leagues, and I'm so happy I did because it was so obvious Mahomes was going to have a good season to me, and like it's happening now. And I mean, I think he's like second or third in fantasy points right now, which isn't end all be all, but yeah, whatever. Anything else sports related that you want to mention, or we can get on out of
not
here?
that much longer till the Mariners play.
Oh, true. What do they play tomorrow?
No, they have the bye, so it'll be when the
Oh,
wild card
oh,
series ends. So
yeah.
probably like this
I'm
weekend.
stupid. I'm stupid. Yeah,
But
yeah.
that'll be exciting. Team has never made the World Series. Hopefully, this is the year. Other than that, that's all I got.
South Carolina plays LSU this weekend. Lenora Sellers versus the Nuss Bus in Louisiana. So battle of the
Terrorism.
Heisman's, battle of the first overall picks. Sellers comes out on top. That's all I have to say. But until next time, this was a 2.5 hour video. Not too bad. Not too bad. We've done worse.
Oh, we've done much worse. This is a short
Yeah,
video
and
for us.
especially NBA related, it always goes so long for us. So
Yep.
like this is pretty good. But I'm so ready for the season to start. Preseason starts on Thursday. I'm hyped. Can't wait for basketball again, man. As a Giants fan,
Oh,
once
yeah.
Neighbors, like I mean, once Russ was playing, I was already excited, and then once Neighbors went down, I'm just even more excited now. Like I have nothing to look forward to and the Ravens are all screwed up too. Like every team I like is destroyed. So the Thunder have to save them.
Seahawks Lions NFC Championship will feed families. That's all I
Oh
got.
God, I have to root for Sam Darnold. That's awesome.
Demon.
I mean, he's been good. He's been good.
Demon Darnold is what you will call him.
Not as good as Tariq Woolen, but he's been pretty good. Yeah, I'll get you a Tariq Woolen jersey for Christmas.
That's what lighter fluid is for. That is what
All
lighter
right.
fluid is for.
Until next time, we'll see you guys around. Peace.